introduction. There's a feedback, so I think you're using two
devices.
devices. I can hear myself. So
Oh, okay. Hold on, please. Oh, okay, is it better now?
perfect. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Esther. I'm a project manager, and I'm just here to learn how to use Power BB for reporting
Power,
data.
power what?
Sorry, I
What did you
can't
just
hear you. I don't know why.
power what? You said power BB.
Oh,
Is that what you said?
sorry, can you come again? I could not hear you before.
You said power BB. What did you just call it?
Power BI, sorry.
Thank you.
Power BI.
Let's not fight. All right. Any other person introduction? We have like 3-4 minutes for intros before we carry on. Does anybody want to do an introduction before we start this business? Anybody? I don't see any hands. Does anybody want to unmute and speak? Nobody? Do I need to introduce myself? Okay. There are a few hands. AJ, go for it.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Aisha. I'm actually here to learn how to use Power BI. Thank you.
Have you used Power BI at all before? Like, do you have
No.
any experience? Okay. So you're ground zero. Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. We'll get you there. Toby O. If any other person wants to speak, please tell us about yourself as little as you can. If you say too much, I won't stop you. And then,
Hi,
yeah, go on.
can you
Toby.
hear me?
Loud and
Hi,
clear.
my name is Toby. I'm a nurse, but I'm looking to delve into more administrative roles. So I want to learn Power BI to basically help me as I go on that journey. So I'm like I don't know anything about Power BI, so I want this to like expose me basically.
I think I recognize your voice. I'm not sure, but I think. Thank you, Toby. Bobola J. A.
Okay,
Go on.
good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bobola, and I'm a business analyst.
Okay.
I'm just upskilling as much as I can, so Power BI will do for me.
Just like learning.
I work with Excel most of the time, Excel and PowerPoint. Yeah, but it would be nice to have Power BI to my list of competencies.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Laila, is that an for wish or yeah, Laila. So it's Laila
Hi,
Chibuso. Yeah, carry on.
my name is Leila. I'm a final year
Leila, sorry.
student studying
My bad.
biotechnology. I've recently started taking data analysis courses, and I just feel the need to learn Power BI as well. So yeah,
The courses you've taken, if you don't mind, what tools did you learn there?
I learned the Google SQL, like basically SQL.
BigQuery. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Chibuzo, over to you. And I think after Chibuzo, we can
Hello, good
just
afternoon, everyone. My name is Chibuzo. I'm a business analyst and I'm also a software test engineer. And recently, I've been having interest in data, so I've been trying to pivot to data analysis and then Power BI.
thank you, Chibuzo. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for coming on time. Very important because I know towards the end some people will start coming. Thanks for coming early. We have 4 hours, not 4 hours of aggressive teaching because I don't think you can learn in 4 hours. That's a lot of time. So we'll try to keep it as relaxed as much as we can. And yeah, let's have fun. Small intro about myself. My name is David. I work as a Power BI reporting lead for some global business. I've been in and around data for about 5 years at different levels, different capacities, and I think I know enough to teach. Not just because I think it, but because I've actually had to train for some other institutions in the past. So I've had to like train Met Police, for example, train people that work with NHS, train people that work in some banks in Canada, for example. And having done those trainings, I think it dawned on me that actually I can teach this thing, and that's where everything started from, really. So I sort of stumbled into training, and I've enjoyed it ever since, and that's why I train, hence the academy as well. We'll try to keep this as straight to the point as possible. No, not too much theory, not too much faffing around and wasting time. I'm going to teach you the things that matter. And your background doesn't matter. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I guarantee you. We'll take things slow, one step at a time. And also there'll be time for questions. So just again, before I go into today's business, can you guys confirm that you can see my screen? Can anybody confirm that you can see my
Yes,
screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I would like to talk about today is the structure of today's class or this session. I mean, I don't want to call it. I mean, it's just longer than a class. So this session, we have four hours, and each of those columns actually represents each of those hours. So the first hour would actually teach for 45 minutes. I think we've taken some of that time already. Then we get questions for 10 minutes, and then we get a 5-minute break. Yep. After the 5-minute break, we come into the hour 2. We do 40 minutes of training, 10 minutes of questions. And because now we've gone 2 hours in, you need a longer break. So we get 10 minutes break. After the 10 minutes break, we come back, we do 35 minutes of training, 20 minutes of questions, and then 5-minute break. Before we go the final hour, 30 minutes of teaching, 30 minutes of questions. If you notice, as the hours progress, I've increased the time for questions because I think the deeper I go into this, the more questions you have. So for the first 45 minutes, you might not have too many questions, but as things start to get more technical, start to get maybe more difficult, nothing is difficult by the way, so don't worry. Then I expect that the questions would increase. And if they don't, that's fine. We can just keep training, and if we finish early, that's fine. We'll be fine. Okay. Does everybody understand the structure? 4 hours, you get blocks of teaching, blocks of questions, and then a short break at the end, just so you can stretch your legs, reply messages, do all of that. So today, now it's 3:10, meaning for us to finish the first hour at 4, we have to finish the first round of teaching at 3:40-ish. So I've got like 35 minutes to train you. And I'm not going to waste much time and just get right into it. I know everybody's here to learn about Power BI. Everybody wants to talk about Power BI, the tool, dashboards, all of that. But before we go into any of that, we need to set some classic guiding principles. This is a crash course. So as much as possible, I normally like to have a very interactive class where everybody's talking, everybody's asking their questions in real time. Like that's how I prefer it. But because we are 31 here, things might get a bit rowdy. But again, 30 is not really a crazy number, so we might still be able to do that. But I thought the numbers would be like overwhelming, so that would be difficult to manage. So you will do a lot of listening, more listening. You're not really going to be doing much today, so it's not a class of I've done this, do this, do as I do. No, we can't do as I do because we don't have the time. It's a crash course, okay? And also the interactions will be controlled. That's why we have the question blocks. So I tell you when it's time to ask questions. So you don't have to wait till then. You can have the questions in the chat or you can have them written down somewhere. And then when it's time, you just release them and then I start to answer. So that's what it is. It's a crash course. It's not like a normal course. So if you have your Power BI desktop open, that's not a bad idea, but we can't really do much because I will not have the time to wait for every single person to do what I've done. But I'll try to be as slow as possible so you can catch everything I'm saying in one go and repeat as much as I can. So even if you don't catch it the first time, by the second time, you should pick it up. So that's for me to manage your learning process. But also, as much as I would love us to be interactive, it might be extremely difficult to manage. And I hope you guys understand that. Cool. That aside, let's have a conversation around data. What exactly is data? When I ask people what is data, I get a lot of interesting answers, and most of them tilt towards data is numbers, is blah blah blah, is numbers that I can calculate. And the simple truth is, data is information. Any piece of information is data. Whether or not you can capture it, whether or not you can measure it, whether or not you can calculate or do anything with it, whether or not you can process it, it's information. So yeah, the class is recorded, by the way. So this will be on YouTube after the class. So data is any piece of information, regardless of whether or not you can do a calculation with it, whether or not you can understand it, whether or not you can process it. So you can see something that looks like rubbish, but it's data to someone else. I'll give you an example. If I give you an Excel file that is full of information written in Chinese, If you don't understand that language, it's rubbish to you. But to someone that understands it, it's data to them. So the fact that you lack understanding of that language has not stopped that document from being data. It's still data. So data is not dependent on your ability to interpret or understand it. It is data. When dogs are barking at each other, believe it or not, they are communicating. Do you understand what they're saying? No, you don't. Are they exchanging data? Absolutely. Are we together? So data is any piece of information, whether or not it's numeric, the format, the structure, where it is stored, your understanding of it, those are secondary. If it contains information, it is data. A picture is data. The sound of my voice is data. The sound of a partner's voice is data. The cry of a child is data. Any piece of information is data. That's the simplest way I think I can explain what data is. Now, how does data help a business to improve their decision-making process? Before the world of data became this big and should I say, very interesting, businesses have been making business decisions, but most of those decisions have been based off instinct and convictions. So you might think you want to launch a product and like, I'm sure that people will buy this product at this particular price. You're absolutely sure because you're going with your gut. You're going with the advice that you have surrounding you. So you're basically going off things that are not really measurable. You just feel, you believe. I mean, there's sometimes you start a business and you're so sure that the business will blow, but then you start selling and you're not getting the traffic you want. That's how things used to be in the past. But with data, it doesn't mean you stop making emotional decisions. It doesn't make you stop going with gut feeling. It just means now you have more to augment that gut feeling. You have more to support those emotional things that you think you're convinced about. So you have more information to arm yourself with before you actually go ahead and make a decision. So data does not replace gut feeling. Data is not a magic wand for every business. You can have all the data in the world and still crash as a business. So don't think data is a solution to all business problems. Absolutely not. So the fact that you have data means data can help your decision-making process. Data will not make the decisions for you. Data will not tell you what is right and what is wrong. Data will just give you more information around the kind of things you can do. You can understand your customers better. You can understand your terrain better. You can understand your pricing better because you have the data to monitor. But without data, you're flying in blind. And most times, everything will shock you because your expectations might not always match what the reality is. You can say, oh, I want to sell this product for £1 million. You're so confident that it's a luxury. But you step out of your circle and you realize nobody sees the luxury in this thing I'm selling as luxury. So data would help you to make better decisions. Data does not absolve you for making bad business decisions. Data is not a magic wand to guarantee business success. It's just a tool in the box that can help you to enhance your decision-making process. That's what data is. Without data as a business, you are flying blind. With data, you have more equipment or more knowledge that can guide the direction you choose to go as a business. That's why data is important. Are we together? So data helps you to track things like sales, your profitability, where you're losing money, where you're making money, are you spending too much on promotions, etc. Data helps you to understand what markets to target, what promos to run, and things like that. In the business world, there are some things that are standard practice, that are constant. Reporting is a very big part of the business world because without reports, you don't understand performance. Without performance, you don't know if you're doing well or you're doing bad. Without knowing if you're doing well or you're doing bad, you don't know what to prioritize and what not to prioritize. So everything starts with reports. Your sales report will tell you if you're selling well or you're not selling well. Your sales report will tell you where you're selling well and where you are not selling well. Now, those reports are basically just data that has been accumulated together in a summarized version for you to understand. Okay, you look at your bank statements, for example, you have like 200 lines in a month. But at the end of the day, what you care about is how much came in, how much went out. So that's like a summary report of your bank statement. Total in, total out, this is the balance. If you now want to dig deeper to understand, okay, what did this money actually go to, then you can go into the line items. So the line items, think of that as, that's the data. It's on its own, it doesn't mean a lot, but when you put it together, when you aggregate it together, It gives more meaning to what you're looking at. And that's what reports do. Reports basically take data in their tiny bits and chunks all around the place, aggregate them together to give more meaning to the numbers you're looking at. So we've established the importance of data. Without data as a business, you're flying blind. We've established why businesses need reports, because without reports, you don't really know how you're doing in terms of performance. And without knowing your performance, you don't know if you're doing well or doing bad, and you don't know where to move. So before the world of Power BI, before business intelligence as a field came up, and many companies even till today do a lot of reporting in Excel. For those that have worked in major organizations or even small businesses, everybody does that reporting in Excel. You do all the calculations. Oh, your total sales is this, blah blah blah, and that takes me to my next talking point. This is what I'll refer to as the traditional reporting system. So how does reporting generally work? The reporting process is this: you have a source system somewhere, maybe an ERP that helps you do your job, something like SAP, something like Oracle, something like QuickBooks, something like Salesforce, Dynamics. There are many tools like that. There are tools that make your life easy every day. For those that have worked in banks in Nigeria, Finacle and the likes, those are tools that make your life easy. But apart from making your life easy, what those tools do is they collect a lot of data. So yes, there are tools to improve efficiency, but at the back of all of that efficiency is a lot of data that is being stored. Okay. Now, what those tools do is they store your data in a structured way. Now, when you want to report, you go and pull that data. You start to do some aggregation to make sense of the data. Remember the bank statement example I gave you. You have 10, 20, 30 lines of transactions on your bank statements. But at the end of the day, there is a small summary that tells you everything you need to know. This is the amount that came in. This is the amount that went out. This is your remaining balance. That's the summary. That's the report. But to arrive at that particular summary, you have 20, 30, 40 different lines you have to aggregate. So when people go to these systems that have this data, they pull all that data and then they aggregate the data to create a report. That's the process. So the normal reporting process is you go to source system, which could be anything. You pull the data, you clean and transform the data, because sometimes the data doesn't come the way you want it. There might have been an intern somewhere that has been typing rubbish in the system, for example. You have to clean all of that. So you pull the data, you clean the data. And for those that use Excel, this will sound very familiar. After cleaning the data, then you start to do your calculations or aggregations, your VLOOKUPs, your sum ifs, your sums, your totals, your pivot tables. All of that process is you aggregating the data. You're bringing it together into a more meaningful, concise structure. Okay. After doing all the aggregation, then you need to present the reports. In many cases, people do that using PowerPoint. So they use Excel to cook the numbers, Excel to clean, Excel to do the calculations. Then when it's time to present, they move it to PowerPoint, because then they want to highlight the key points that need to be talked about. They want to show some things in charts and whatnot. So that's the reporting lifecycle. You go to a source system, you extract raw data, you clean that data, do some transformation to bring it to shape, to tidy up whatever needs to be tidied up. You perform some calculations and aggregations to make sense of the data, to compress the data into a more meaningful information, and then you present the results. So that's the life cycle. Extract from source, clean and transform, apply calculations or aggregations, present. I'll go again. Extract from source, clean and transform, do calculations and aggregations, and then present. That's the traditional process of a report. And usually you can do all of this in Excel. Many companies still do it today. So in fact, the percentage of companies that have automated reporting, it's a very small fraction, which is why there's a really good market for Power BI now, because companies are just starting to want to move away from Excel, because now they're starting to deal with data that is maybe too much for Excel, and that's where Power BI comes in. Okay. So now we understand the traditional reporting system and process. Now, how does Power BI improve that? What does Power BI bring to the equation? Well, the traditional process is very manual. You go to a system, you download data, CSV files, XLXX, whatever. You have to do it clean in Excel. You have to do calculation in Excel. You have to present in PowerPoint, whatever. What Power BI does is Power BI takes over the entire life cycle of that reporting process and automates it. Meaning from start to finish, Power BI can handle it. Power BI will go to the source system to extract. Power BI will do the cleaning and transformation of that data. Power BI will do the aggregation and calculation of that data. Power BI will create the report that you want to present. So basically, that's 4 or 5-step process that you do every month or every single time you want to report. Power BI does it for you on the fly, automatically, as often as you want. So what happens is your process you do in Excel today, once you do it in Power BI once, Power BI learns the process, Power BI understands the process, Power BI continues to do the process. So a report that would normally take you 3-4 hours to sort out, in Power BI will take you 3-4 minutes. That's a massive time saving. And that's why companies are moving towards Power BI, because one, it saves a lot of time. Two, reports can come out a lot quicker. You don't have to wait till the end of the month, because it's just Power BI is doing it already anyway. So you're getting reports every day. Three, there is a massive computational advantage. So Power BI is fast. Power BI can handle gigabytes of data seamlessly. Excel will struggle if it gets some kind of data. So Power BI gives you a lot of computational power that you can leverage to really process your data faster. Okay, so do we understand what data is? Do we understand the importance of data for a business? Do we understand the traditional reporting process? Do we understand how Power BI improves that traditional reporting process? Before I carry on, just so I'm sure that I have you guys. Are we good? Is everybody fine? So the class is not a massive class, so we can still make it interactive. So it's fine. That's even nice. I can get to feel you guys every now and then. Cool. So having established what the value add of Power BI is, I think that automatically helps you to understand why there is a demand for it in the job market. And there is, and it's a demand that will still continue to rise, to be honest, because you will be shocked at how much Excel is still being used in businesses. And the reliance on Excel is really solid. And that also means the demand for Power BI will still be solid, because people generally want to move reporting in from Excel. Power BI is more efficient, it's faster, it's more reliable. There's less human involvement, so there's less errors. So it's a no-brainer for many companies. Okay. For the job market, you can just go on LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever sites you're comfortable with, and just search for Power BI and see what the opportunities are. Go and see for yourself. The demand is there, and there's good money there. There's decent money there. So if it's something the prospects are good. And also, it's not difficult to learn. Power BI is not difficult. You don't need a 6 month course to learn Power BI. If you have a good teacher, within 6-7 weeks, you'll be fine. If you have a teacher that knows what he or she is doing, within 6-7 weeks, you'll know Power BI. You'll be comfortable. Obviously, as you start to work and start to do more, you build more Power BI muscles. But generally, the core concepts you'd have already within 6-7 weeks. And I say this as someone that teaches it and someone that does the job. So believe me when I say it's not difficult to learn. There's no coding involved, so you don't have to write any Python and all of that. It's not difficult at all. You just have to understand the fundamentals of how Power BI works, and you'll be fine. Now, one thing that I think is really important for us to understand is Power BI is a tool. Power BI is a tool. So it doesn't make sense to understand the tool and not understand what the tool is being used for. Okay? So it's very easy to, how do I put it? If you only understand the tool as in Power BI, the tool, what happens if tomorrow the company changes that tool to Tableau or ClickSense, for example? Do you start to struggle or do you resign? But if you understand what Power BI does and how it does it, when that tool changes, if that happens, you're not going to struggle because you understand the underlying concepts that power Power BI. So Power BI is a tool. It's a tool that helps you to pull data from many different sources, helps you to establish relationships, and helps you to basically automate your reporting processes. If you understand how that happens, if the tool changes tomorrow, you will not struggle. You'll just need a few short courses to get yourself back, but you're not going to struggle. So Power BI is a tool. That tool can change tomorrow. But if you understand what the tool does, you'll be fine regardless of the tool that you're using. Are we good? Are we good? Okay, I'll carry on. So the fourth point there is components of Power BI, but I'll swap it around. I'll go to common misconceptions before components. But when you ask people what they know about Power BI, what's Power BI, what does Power BI do? The most common answer you get is, I mean, no, let's put it to the test. I'll ask just 3 people, and then I'll come back to what my common answer is. So, what do you know about Power BI? 3 hands, please, just 3 hands, and I'll take it from there. If I ask you today, what is Power BI? Tell me your understanding of what Power BI is, what it's used for. So I have 3 already, so I'll go there. Adeomi, go on.
Hello.
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so I know it as a tool for reporting, basically visualizing reporting and also being able to collect data.
Okay, so visualizing, reporting, nice one. Narissa.
Hi everyone. So
Right.
I know Power BI as a data visualization and report.
So okay, so consistency, same thing as the first speaker. Visualization and reporting.
Visualizes into bar charts and pie charts.
Okay, excellent. Finally,
Ease of
Chubuzo.
reporting, basically.
For okay,
ease of
okay.
reporting.
Yeah, thank you, Narissa. Chubuzo.
For me, I think Power BI is a business intelligence tool that collects, processes, analyzes qualitative and quantitative data into meaningful so that people can derive meaning from them.
Okay, you've carefully and tactically avoided the words visualization and reporting. Is that intentional?
Yes, because other people have emphasized on that.
So if they haven't said it, you'll have said it too. Okay, that's fine. So those 2 words are like the most common words that feature when you ask people what Power BI is. That it's used for visualization and reporting. So they're not wrong, but I think it's a massive disservice to what Power BI does. Okay, it's a massive disservice. So because beyond the reporting, there is so much more that happens behind the scenes of Power BI. And that's where the real value is. It's not really in the reporting. The reporting is like the icing on the cake. But what's the point of a nice ice cream if there's no cake? So yes, the visuals are nice, the pretty stuff are cool, but the real work Power BI does, it's the ability to pull that much data from so many different sources, compress them into one central location, and keep them refreshed continuously over time. So that's the real engine that powers Power BI. That's the engine that powers the reports, dashboards, and the other cute and fancy stuff that you see. So it's very possible to have a Power BI report, a Power BI solution without a single chart. That might be new to many of you, but it's very possible to have a comprehensive enterprise level data solution that is robust enough to cater to all your data needs of the business without a single chart, no bar chart, no graph, nothing at all. So the fact that there is no visualization or there is no reports, has that taken away from the solution that Power BI has provided? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So yes, it is being sold as a visualization tool, which is not wrong. But again, based on experience, I think selling it as that or explaining it as that is a massive disservice to the value that comes with Power BI. Okay. You'll see what I mean with time. As you progress, you understand that there is so much more to Power BI than changing colors and all of the fancy stuff. There is nothing wrong with those, don't get me wrong. They're perfectly fine. But the tool itself offers you so much more. It's like saying you know how to build a house. But then when they ask you to build a house, you say, oh, it's only the roofing I know how to do. So what happened to the foundation? What happened to the wiring, plumbing, and none of that? So you can build a house, but you can only do the roofing. So you can't really build a house. And that takes me to my Ferrari versus Fiat example. If I put a Ferrari in front of you now, maybe a 2024 Ferrari in front of you, with all the horsepower and all the crazy engine specs, and then I ask you what car is this, or maybe I try to sell the car to me, and the only thing you can tell me about that car is that the car is red. Have you sold that Ferrari to me? Yeah. Because if you have a Ferrari next to you and you want to sell it, and you say, oh, buy this car, it's color red. That's all you have to say. Then you are doing a massive disservice to the car that is in front of you. It's the same way when you describe Power BI as a visualization tool. I'm like, you're not wrong, but I mean, the car is red, I agree, but it's a Ferrari. So yes, Power BI does visuals, does charts, but guys, there's way more to what happens in Power BI than that. There's a lot of data engineering in the background. That is the real engine that powers all the reports and everything. So have we addressed those very common misconceptions about Power BI? Are we on board with that before I carry on? Okay. So now let's go to the components of Power BI. The components of Power BI. We have the Power BI desktop, which I think many people are familiar with. It's a free application that used to build Power BI reports. It's available on Microsoft.com, Office.com actually, or if you go to your App Store, Windows Store, you can actually download Power BI from there. It's free, so you can download Power BI desktop. There's the Power BI service, which is really where all the computational power is. There's Power BI service. Usually you have to pay for that for like a pro license or anything. There's Power BI service. We're going to see all this, by the way, so it's fine. And then there's the Power BI mobile app. You can download the mobile app from your App Store. So if it's Android, it's iPhone, you can just go there and download Power BI mobile app. So whatever you build on Power BI desktop is what you publish to the Power BI service. That makes it available to other people that have access to it, even on the mobile app. So Power BI desktop, think of it as the easiest way to explain this is let's use social media. So let's move away from Power BI for a bit. When you take a selfie on your phone, that selfie is local to you. It's local to your device. It's on the phone, right? Until you share that picture with other people, maybe on Instagram, on Twitter, on Snapchat, whatever, that picture is local to your device. That picture has not left your phone. So that's how Power BI desktop is. When you build something on Power BI desktop and you save that file, it is local to your laptop or your machine where you've built it. Nobody can see that file. You can't really share that file unless you attach the file and send to someone. Nobody can really access that file. So everything you've built on Power BI desktop is local to you on the device that you've built it. When you take that picture on your phone and you post it on Instagram, what happens? You've posted it on a service. Now other people can see, other people can like, can comment. Some people might even screenshot it. So other people can even make copies of the picture. So what has happened is you've moved away from having a picture that is local to your device to having a picture that is on a service where other people can see. In the same way, when you build a report on Power BI desktop, once you publish it to the Power BI service, other people that have access can now see what you've built. Not only can they see, they can give you comments, they can collaborate. Some can even continue where you stopped. But the point is now that particular report is not local to your device again. It's now in a serviced environment where other people have access to. Obviously, you can control the access to the environment, but now there is the possibility that other people can do stuff with what you've built. Other people can see, can comment, and make corrections and things like that. And that's the beauty of Power BI. When you build reports in Excel, most times you have to attach the Excel to send it to other people. You have to keep sending the file. But in Power BI, you only need to publish. Everybody knows where to go and get what they need because it's published in a central location. So the Power BI service is that environment that allows collaboration, allows you to share reports, publish your data where other people can access it. And also the Power BI service is what helps you to do like the automatic refreshes. So because now it's in a service, it's in a cloud environment that is fully managed by Microsoft, all your refresh should be happening automatically, even when you're sleeping. Okay. Now, if you post a picture on Instagram, if you delete that picture on your phone, not on Instagram, if you delete that picture on your phone, does the copy on Instagram disappear? No, it stays. So that's how the Power BI service is. If you build a Power BI report on your Power BI desktop, your local machine, you publish it to the web. If you delete that Power BI desktop file on your laptop, it doesn't affect what's on the service because that's a different copy entirely. Okay, so the Power BI service is not a live connection to the Power BI desktop. The desktop is like your kitchen where you cook, and then the service is like some alternate environments where a copy of that is maintained and managed. Okay, so Instagram approach again. You take a picture on your phone, you do all your editing. That's your Power BI desktop, local to your device, local to your phone. The minute you push that to Instagram, it's no longer local to your phone. There is a copy on your phone and a copy on a service. Service in this context, Instagram. Same way with Power BI. When you publish that Power BI report to your workspace, it's now on a service. Instagram maintains Instagram. Microsoft maintains the Power BI service. So they would help you to maintain that report, continue to refresh your data automatically in the background, and you have nothing to do with that. If you delete the original Power BI file on your laptop, the one on the service stays and continues to work normally. The same way if you delete a picture on your phone, as long as it's still on Instagram, that copy is still there and visible to everybody. So one is the builder, one is the sharer. One is where everything starts, one is where you start to collaborate and call people to come and see. Power BI service, Power BI desktop. As a matter of fact, if you have ever done a Power BI course where they did not talk about the Power BI service, I hate to break it to you, but you've actually wasted your time. Because without the service, what you're doing is not really Power BI. Because what you're doing is probably what you should have been doing in PowerPoint. So if you build a very fancy dashboard, a very beautiful report, and at the end of all that, you have to attach it to an email to send, you have not used Power BI. You could have just done all that in PowerPoint. There was no point using Power BI. If you're attaching Power BI files, you're doing Power BI wrong. It has to be published to a service where other people can see, can do what they need to do, and they can carry on from there. 3:37. We're going at a good pace. Let me open the floor for questions now. Questions? Anybody? Are there any questions? No questions? I'm just checking if there's any hand up. No questions. Everybody understands everything I said, just like that. Okay. I mean, it can't be that easy. Bolaji, go on.
Hi, David. Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to ask a quick question. I don't have the knowledge of Excel. I'm new to data and all of this thing. So I want to know if will it limit my understanding of using Power BI. But of course, I can use PowerPoint.
The simple answer is no, it won't limit it, but it's always nice to know it because most of the Power BI stuff you'll be doing are already happening in Excel. Do you understand? So it will be nice to understand that process in Excel and then replicate in Power BI. It won't limit you, but it will be really nice to have that Excel knowledge because then you can understand the problem you're trying to solve better. If you don't have that knowledge, you might struggle a bit. Does that answer your question?
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Abiola Rabiu. If you have questions, please just raise up your hand and go for it. Let me.
Thank you. My question is, from your explanation, Power BI service is for storing the information. So every other persons probably in the organization would be able to get same data from there, right? What is the difference between the desktop and the service?
So the desktop is where you build whatever you're building. The service is when you actually make it available for people to use. Okay. Again, let's go back to the Instagram example. When you take a nice picture on your phone, you edit it, you do everything. It's local to you. Nobody can see it until you publish it, until you post it on a web service. So that's what the service is. You build this fancy report until you publish it. People cannot see it. People cannot use it. That's what the service is for. It's like a hosting environment for other people to see. Same way Instagram is an environment for other people to see your beautiful picture. Does that make sense? So without the service, whatever you've built is local to you. People don't get to see. But with the service, other people can see and take advantage of it. Does that answer your question? Okay, 3 more hands. Jubzo.
Thank you, David. I just wanted to ask a question. You did mention before that Power BI is, you did insinuate that Power BI can be like a standalone skill where one can leverage and pivot career. But sometimes I do see, I mean, when I go online and search for jobs, maybe not all, though, but the ones I've seen, sometimes you could see employers also putting in other skills, like they may want you to have some other skills, let me say SQL or something. But are you trying to retrace that with Power BI alone? You learn Power BI holistically, properly, that you can be able to pivot career for like someone like me?
Absolutely. And I would explain why job adverts or employers actually, I would say they over advertise roles. That's standard practice, by the way. Every JD is over advertised. So they will put in things that when you get on the job, you'll be like, was that really necessary? Okay, so there is that. And they over advertise because, I mean, if we can get all of this in one package, Why not? Let's get everything. That's why they do it. So there are many things that for a Power BI role, because there are specialist Power BI roles, by the way. I have one of those. There are specialized Power BI roles. You might have to dabble into other tools, but the chances are very slim, and the amount of dabbling you have to do is not a lot, to be very honest. It's very basic stuff. So, for example, let's say I'm building a Power BI report, but I need to pull data from a SQL database, for example. Me, with everything I know now, I'm just going to pull the raw tables and carry on my work in Power BI. All the joins I need to do, or that someone else will do in SQL, I can do them in Power BI. I don't need to do them in SQL. Or some other person would actually use queries to do those joins in SQL before bringing it to Power BI. So we've done the same thing, except one person has just gone a longer route and I've gone a shorter route. We're still going to achieve the same thing. So there are many things in SQL that you can actually do in Power BI without writing the code. Just clicking buttons, all the joins, all your merge append, you can do that in Power BI. Obviously, there are some more advanced things you need to do in SQL, but for Power BI specialist roles, you don't really need deep knowledge of those other tools. You can have basic knowledge for interview conversations, but you don't really need to go deep for Power BI specialist role. Power BI is a specialist tool, and yes, you can build a career of Power BI. It will be nice to have those other things because, again, during the interview, they will ask you those questions, but on the job itself, you realize that more often than not, Power BI is enough. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Ola,
Thank you.
Ola, you can speak.
All right. Hi, David. My
Hi.
question, I think you kind of touched base on my question, but I'm still going to say it. Um, if you're working on Power BI and do you need to work first on, like, when you're trying to transform data on Power BI, do you need to have made some some correction on Excel first using Power Query, or you can automatically just do that directly on Power BI?
Yeah, I don't think you need to go to Power Query to tidy up data before it comes to Power BI. There's probably nothing in Power Query in Excel that doesn't exist in Power Query in Power BI. So there's no point. So there's Power
So
Query in Power BI. So I wouldn't
So
go
if you
through the
have the
hassle
raw
of.
data, you can just upload it on Power BI and start working on it immediately on there.
In fact, you have more to gain from doing that because Power BI is more powerful than Excel. So you will do a lot faster than in Excel. So in terms of Excel, for example, can only hold maybe just over 1 million rows of data. Power BI can hold 20 million. So in terms of computational power, are you not better off using Power BI? It's
Yeah.
a no-brainer.
All right. Great. Thanks.
Once you have an Excel file that is starting to freeze for too long, then it means you're overloading it. Just move it to Power BI. You can move to Power BI and come back to Excel, by the way. So you can do all the computation and everything in Power BI and then reconnect to Excel, and then your Excel is a lot faster. But again, that's like more advanced stuff.
All right. Thanks.
Any more questions? I don't see any hand. Any more questions? No question? Shall I carry on? Let's carry on. Okay. We're moving a bit faster than planned, but that's not a bad thing. So what happens in Power BI? How do you build a Power BI solution? I have a very unique way of explaining what happens in Power BI. And it seems basic, but it does the trick, to be honest. It does the trick. I have a 6-step process of how to build a Power BI solution. Remember, I said at the beginning that not every Power BI solution needs to end up as a chart or a dashboard. You can have an enterprise level Power BI solution without a single chart. It's very possible. I'll show you. If you only care about the data, then you can build that without the chart. But my 6-step analogy is basically, if you think of you trying to start a food business, you want to start a food business, the first thing you think about is you need to get a space for the restaurant, right? If you want to open a restaurant, you need to get a space. And in Power BI world, that's the same as setting up a workspace in the Power BI service. I'm going to show you all of this, by the way, so don't worry. We'll go through every step one by one in more detail. So the first step to building a Power BI solution is to set up a workspace in the Power BI service. Remember, I said if you have Power BI knowledge without Power BI service, you don't know Power BI. Because Power BI without the service is just glorified PowerPoint. Power BI without Power BI service is just glorified PowerPoint. If the only thing you know about Power BI is how to build charts and how to change colors, you do not know Power BI. And I hate to be the one to say that, but trust me, that's the reality. because on the job, it's the Power BI service of things they need you to do, not just to do the fancy charts. Anybody can do that in PowerPoint, okay? So the first step is setting up your workspace in a Power BI service. I will show you all of that. And with the food analogy, if you want to set up a restaurant, you need a space, right? After getting a space in a restaurant, what do you need next? Any other person? Let me see if anybody can even follow my line of thinking for my 6 steps. When you get a space for a restaurant, what next? What do you do next? Who wants to try? Who wants to try?
I think you gather your stuff.
Yeah?
I think you'd gather the things you want to cook.
You gather the things you want to cook. Let's see if you're correct. Well, you're partially correct because now you have a restaurant. Now you want to cook, but before you have to cook, you need to do some shopping, right? So you have to source for ingredients. What do you want to cook? You want to cook jollof rice? Cool. You need to get rice, you need to get pepper, get tomatoes, get blah, blah, blah. Or you want to bake a cake, you need to get flour, get yeast, get all of that. So you need to source for the ingredients to make your dish. In the Power BI world, that's just sourcing for data. So data in Power BI, those are your ingredients for whatever food you want to cook. Okay, so how do you source for data? What systems contain the data that the business needs to understand? What Excel files have data that we need to understand? So you source your data, and your data can come from many different sources. Power BI is fine. It will connect to all of them. So if it's Salesforce, Oracle, Dynamics, Google Cloud, wherever the data is, Power BI will connect to it just fine. You source for your data, you select the data that is relevant to what you want to do, and that takes us to step 2. So step 1, you set up your workspace in a Power BI service. Remember, no Power BI service, no Power BI. You're wasting your time. Step 2, you source for the data that you need to build what you want to build. What are the relevant data that you need to connect to build what you want to build? Do I have my customer and sales data in one place? If not, you get the customer data from where it is, and you get the sales data from where it is, because you need 2 of them together. Okay? In Power BI, what does your data sourcing and selection? Next step, who wants to try? After you've gotten your ingredients, what do you do next? For those that cook here, what do you do next after getting your ingredients? No chef here. After you get your ingredients for jollof rice, what do you do next? Who wants to try? Not
You
Chibuzo.
prepare your ingredients.
Not Chibuzo, not Chibuzo, not Chibuzo. Chibuzo, go away. I mean, I go on.
You start to prep your ingredients.
You start prepping your ingredients. If you have like veggies, you start chopping them, and
Exactly. It takes us to step 3. You start to clean and process your ingredients. If you need to wash something, you wash it. If you need to blend, you blend. In Power BI, that's your data cleaning and transformation. You start to transform your data to make it ready for analysis. An example of that is if you have data that should be numbers, but it's coming up as text, you change that. If you have data as text that should be number, you change that. You start to clean, you start to tidy up. So for example, a very common example of this is when you give people a form to fill in their postcode, some people don't leave the space between the postcode. It's a rookie mistake, but it happens. So that's an example of a cleaning step or a transformational step because you need that space so it's consistent across board. So just as you wash your onions, cut your garlic, blend your pepper, the same thing happens in Power BI. You need to clean and transform your data from its original state in the original source. Are we good? So what next? What's step 4? After you've done all that, what do you do next, chefs? Where are my chefs? After cleaning and processing, what do you do next? And what are we cooking, by the way? Is it cake or jollof? Which one are we doing? Or meet your mic. Who's there? Narisa, Amina, don't leave me alone. Let's continue our cooking. After transforming your data, what do you do?
you start the word to use.
Okay, wait. What are you cooking first? Jollof rice or cake? What are you making?
Anyone.
Okay,
Okay, let's
jollof
say you are
rice.
making jollof rice now.
Okay,
You've
after
already
you've
chopped.
processed ingredients, what do you do?
Then you start arranging or start making your meal. Like you start frying your
You start tossing in a bit.
tossing in
You start tossing
everything. Yes.
It takes us to step 4. Data modeling. When you're baking a cake, once you've prepared your dough, everything, you put it all in a pan, you put it in the oven, correct? So notice what has happened. You had 10 ingredients before. But when everything goes into a pot or a baking pan, it goes in as 1. I mean, it doesn't go in as 1, but it comes out as 1. Okay? So you have 10, 15, 20 ingredients from step 2. You clean and transform them in step 3. Step 4, you've put them all in the pot to cook. Meaning the product of step 4 is 1 product out of many different products. So you've had many different data sources from many systems. You've cleaned those different data sources. you've transformed them, you put them into one environment that brings them out as one. So a data model is basically, it's like a glue where you bring all your different data together as one data set. So the product of a data model is one holistic data model, one semantic model, that's what it's called. So from 10 data sources to one data model that has data from those 10 sources. Again, in the same way, when you cook jollof rice, you put your rice or your ingredients into the pot. At the end of that cooking, it's one dish that comes out. At the end of that baking, it's one cake that comes out, regardless of what the flavors you put inside. It's one cake that comes out. The product of a data model is a data model. A data model consolidates all the data that has come from many different sources. Do we understand step 4? Again, I will show you how this works in Power BI world, but let's go with the cooking first so you understand what's happening. Then after the break, we'll go deeper into each of them. Do you understand data model now? After that, what happens? After you've okay, your cake is out now. Your rice is out now. What do you do next? Anybody? Chefs?
You
Any
dish
other
it
chef in the
out.
house?
You
You dish
dish
it
it.
out. Exactly. So now that you have a data model, now you can build your dashboard, you can build your reports, because now you can present what you've cooked. Unfortunately, many people start learning Power BI from the point of dishing, but that's not where we started. We started from getting a workspace. We sourced for data, we cleaned the data, we cooked, we modeled, and then we started presenting. So if you only know Power BI from the angle of presenting the data, do you know Power BI? No, you don't. No, you don't, because that's step 5 in the process. So now that we have a data model that we've cleaned, we've transformed, we set up the right relationships, now we can build the fancy stuff, we can build dashboards, we can build reports, and we can do all of the charts and stuff that we enjoy. After that, what happens again? Is that the end of the party?
You
After
can
this,
give
what happens?
people to taste and get feedbacks from people.
See, you've nailed it. So when they taste and they're not happy with it, what happens?
When they are not happy with the taste, you have to try and do that again. Look
No.
for ways.
you-
Maybe what did you the lapses?
When you go to a restaurant, on every single table there is salt and pepper. True or false?
True.
Why? If something doesn't work for you, you can adjust it. That takes us to step 6. We've cooked this nice meal. We believe it's nice. We've presented it, but someone thinks, I want extra salt. And that introduces us to the next step. DAX formulas, measures, and calculations. So there are times where your original data is not giving you enough information, that you have to create more calculations to get the information you need. So for example, I can have a sales data that tells me my sales by region, or tells me my sales by customer. If I want to understand the average spend per customer, I have to do that calculation. I have to create a measure for that. So there are times where what comes out of the box is just not sufficient to answer all the questions that you have. And then you have to introduce DAX formulas to create measures that give you more calculations and more perspective to your data. So at step 4, you have a complete Power BI solution. Don't forget I said you can have a Power BI solution without a single chart. So at step 4, you have a complete Power BI solution. Most people would take it to step 5. And in some cases, they take it to step 6. It's very possible to have a Power BI solution without any single measure or any DAX calculations. It's an added benefit. It's on a need to have basis. It's not compulsory. So if your data has all the calculations and all the metrics you need, you don't need to write a DAX formula or create measures for what you don't need. Do we understand my 6-step process now for the data? This is the Power BI solution lifecycle. You start from getting your space in the service. You source for the ingredients, data sources, you clean and process, transform data, you cook, that's your modeling data, you present, that's the dashboard design. And then, if necessary, you add more salts or create measures with DAX formulas. Are we good? Everybody happy? Okay. Let's go for our first break. I'll do that for, let's take 10 minutes, stretch your legs, reply the text I need to reply, get coffee, drink water, anything you want, that's fine. But we've got just 10 minutes. And so you're not late, also you don't miss out. I'm going to put a timer on the screen and we'll reconvene at exactly 14:06. That's 16:06, that's 4:06. So I'll see you guys when we get back. In the meantime, if any question comes up or you have anything, just drop in the chat. I'll pick it up. I'll take from there. Thank you.
Yeah, what were you saying? What did you say?
Okay, we back. Are you guys back? Are you guys back?
Yes,
Where's
we are.
everybody? All right, cool. Before I go back into my high tempo teaching, how are we so far? How are we feeling so far? Are we good? Just maybe one or two people. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay. Yep. How are we feeling before I continue? Are we good? Does anybody know my 6 step without showing it on the screen? Does everybody know everything before I carry on? Anybody? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go deeper into what happens in each of these steps. Yeah. Let's go deeper. Let's go a bit deeper. Which takes me to my next slide. Step 1, step 2. We'll talk about these lines. So the first step, as I said, is to create a space to get a space for your restaurant. And in Power BI, well, that's setting up your workspace in the Power BI service. And that takes us to the first actual practical angle of today's conversation, which is showing you what the Power BI service looks like. What is the Power BI service? I'll show you. Nothing crazy. Very simple stuff. Okay, so the Power BI service is basically a web service. It's a website. The Power BI service is a website. Can you guys see my screen? Not the PowerPoint, just to be sure I'm showing the right thing. Can you see a browser?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Cool. So how do you get to the Power BI service? It's basically powerbi.com. That's the Power BI service. It's powerbi.com because it's all hosted in the cloud. It's all managed by Microsoft. So what do you do in the service? You create workspaces. Workspaces are basically collaboration environments. So you create a workspace and then you give people access to that workspace. So only those with access to that workspace can see what's happening in that workspace. Okay. So let's create our first workspace today. And that's the workspace we're going to use for today's class. Let's create a blank workspace, new workspace. What do we call today's workspace? 4 hours of Power BI. I don't think Power BI will let me use the hashtag, but let me try. Oh, I can. Cool. Let's create our workspace for today. So normally, new workspace. You don't have the logo or something, I'll have put it there. So apply. Voila, this is our workspace. We have a workspace called 4 hours of Power BI, and it's completely empty. Yeah, that's the first step. If I wanted to give people access within my organization, for example, I'll come here, manage access. I can add people or I can remove people, and I can determine the kind of access that I want to give them. So, for example, if I want to give another account access, training, booking, I can make this person a viewer, meaning they can only view the report. They can't do anything. If I make this person an admin, it means they can also add and remove people. If I make them a member, it means they can do more than just view. Okay, so there are different levels of access you can give, but that's just to show you. Today is just me and you, so we don't need to give anybody access. So we have created a workspace. It is completely empty, as you can see, because we've not done anything. But this is the Power BI service. It's a simple UI on the web, but this is where you manage everything Power BI from, really. As you can see, I have a lot of workspaces here, like a lot. These are like from past students, because when you join us, every student has their own workspace. They do their own work, and then everybody can see what everybody's doing. So if I was to go into these workspaces now, you can see what they've built in the past. But today is not about them. Today is about us. So let's focus on us. Yeah. So this is our workspace, and it is blank. Let's go back to our guide. So we've created a workspace. I've shown you how to manage access. It's very simple. The Power BI service is on powerbi.com. To use the service, usually you need a Power BI license. In this case, I have a pro license. Free account. That's weird. Okay, that's weird. But yeah, normally the pro license for that, I think because they're doing Fabric, blah blah blah. Yeah. So that's the Power BI service. PowerBI.com, log in with your Microsoft credentials, take your license. Happy days. Go to workspace, create a new workspace. That's it. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. Now before I continue, let me take you back again to our Instagram analogy. If you don't post a picture on Instagram, your Instagram account is empty, correct? So in this case, we have our Instagram, but we've not posted anything there, so it's empty. So you can have an Instagram account, but there's no picture on it. It's going to be empty. So we have a workspace that we've not published anything into, so the workspace is empty. So now let's create something that we can publish, so the workspace is not empty. Next step, now we have to start creating. Now let's go to Power BI Desktop. Let's go to Power BI Desktop, and let's start to get into the more hands-on side of things. Everything I'll teach you today in Power BI, I'll teach you by doing. I'll show you, see how it works. Obviously, because it's a crash course, you might not be able to replicate very quickly, but all of this will be on YouTube. So if you want to go back to it, by all means, go back to it. Or if you want us to teach you, we can do that too. That's fine. But this is going to be available to you. So let's start with the blank report. This is Power BI Desktop. This is Power BI Desktop. Let's do a very quick tour. On the top left-hand side, you have Home, Open, Save As. Regular stuff you have on any Office application like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So you have all of those there. You have Home. The first button here says Get Data. This is basically how you connect to a data source. We're going to do some connection, so you see how that works. These are also Get Data options. So in Power BI Desktop, sometimes you see a particular function appearing multiple times. I think it's because they have too much space. They don't know what to do. So don't worry too much about it. For example, this Excel workbook here is the same thing as Get Data Excel workbook. It's the same thing, but it's here and it's there. So I wouldn't worry too much. SQL Server, if you want to connect to a database, you need the server address, you need the right credentials, and you connect to that. So it's not every time you have to connect to data. Sometimes you can actually type in data. That's what this button is for, enter data. So if I go into enter data, I can type in data I want. I want this to be month. And I want another column to be, I'll call this month number. So you can type in data that is added to your model to do whatever you want it to do. So this is just an example of how that works. Months, I'll call this January. Call this February. And I'll call this March. What's the month number? This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. So hold on to call this. I'll call this the month number table. And just like that, we have our first data in our Power BI file. I type in data. I entered the data. I did not import from anywhere. I literally just typed it. And that's our first data table here. So which takes me to the other part. All your data tables will show up under data. So if you have 10 tables, 20, 40, 50, 100, they're all going to be lined up here. And then you can expand to see the columns and collapse to just see the table name. Back to my top, ignore data versus recent sources. These are sources you've connected to recently. Transform data, this is where you do your cleaning and processing. We'll go deeper into that. We'll do a lot of work there, don't worry. There's a lot of stuff to learn in transform data, so we'll go there. Refresh, this basically helps you to refresh all the data in your file by pulling in the whatever changes have happened. New visual, you have all of those here. Text box, that's basically a text box, type whatever you want inside. It's there. It's going to get rid of that. Yes. That's what a text box is. Just like a regular text box anywhere else, really. No, you won't delete. Okay, that's gone. More visuals, it's fine. Measure, that's how you create measures, name calculations if you want. Quick measure, that's like a smarter way to create measures, but it's pretty much the same thing. Publish, this is how we publish to the Power BI service. This is how we upload our picture to Instagram in Instagram mode. In Power BI world, this is how we upload our Power BI file to the Power BI service. So what? So other people can access it, other people can take advantage of the work we've done. Yeah. Copilot AI feature that can help you to find answers to questions that you have around Power BI. So that's the top for home. insert. All of these are visuals that actually exist here. So there's really nothing interesting happening on that insert. For example, this is the composition tree. It's right here as well as a visual. This is key influencers right here as a visual. So there's nothing fancy happening here that is not already here. So I'm just going to ignore that. Modeling, again, I told you that in Power BI, you can see the same thing appearing in different places for whatever reason. Under home, there is new measure, there's quick measure. I go under modeling, it's there again. It's the same function. It's not a different type. It's the same thing. I think they just have too much space and they just keep repeating things. New table, we just created one. You can see that. Manage rows, viewers. There's something in Power BI called RLS. It's called row level security. I think it's a bit more advanced for a crash course, so I can't go too deep into it. But that's what those are for. It's Q&A, language, and yeah, linguistic schema, whatever that is. So view, we have bookmarks, filters. We'll talk about filters once we have some charts on the board. Selection, performance analysis, sync slicers. We'll talk about that as well. Optimize. So these are things that are useful when you have a very busy dashboard, when you have a lot of data in there, you have a lot going on, and then you're starting to have speed concerns. You need to speed up things, you need to optimize things so they move a lot quicker. These are places where you can explore how a particular visual is helping you or dragging you. So that's what that is for. And then help is just general help. Most of this connected to like an online resource to help you get more information. There's a Power BI community button there. Is someone trying to ask me a question? Let me pause there with my thought before I continue. Is someone trying to ask me a question? Anybody? Okay, that's fine. So let's go back to the left-hand side, left pane. At the top here, you have a report view, which is, think of it as like your artist canvas. This is where all of the charts and all of the stuff come into play. And you build them. We have the table view. This is where you view your data like you will see it in Excel. So no matter where your data is coming from, they would come in rows and columns. So once you bring them into Power BI, you can view them here like this as rows and columns. Okay, the whole thing. And then we have the model view. This is where you sort of manage relationships between the different data tables that you have. Once you bring in more data tables, once you have more data, once you start building a model, you'll understand everything I mean. Today, we're going to actually build an end-to-end Power BI solution. So don't worry yourself. We'll get there. But again, all these other things are like the building blocks before we get to that point. Okay. There is a new feature here that's called dark query view. The scope part that can help you write dark query to tests. In fact, you can have two different measures, and then you can put all of them to compare which one is faster, things like that. But this is fairly new. It's like maybe 6-7 months old. But again, that's Power BI. There's updates every week, I think. So something new is always coming. At the bottom of the page, you have pages. This is page 1. If you want more pages, page 2, page 3. Just like you have sheets in Excel, in Power BI, you have pages. So you can have as many pages as you want. You can duplicate pages as well. Right click, duplicate. You can rename, you can delete, you can hide. Yeah, so that's what those are. On the right-hand side, there is filters. There are 3 levels of filtering, but I'll come back to that when we have more visuals because I can explain it better. Like this, one is missing. So there's filter on this page, there's filter on all pages, there's filter on this visual. We don't have that yet. Once we bring in visuals, I'll come back to filtering so you understand what I mean. And then we have all the charts here, visualizations. We would go through every single chart. So I would explain what every single chart here does. Okay, so no rush. Anyway, that's the Power BI desktop. It's a very quick tour. How do we connect to data? We go to get data, and then we select the source you want to connect to. You select the source you want to connect to. But before I do that, let's publish something into Power BI service. Now we have some dummy data here that just has months and month numbers, just 2. It's not useful data, but it's something. So let's publish that. So I'm going to save this file. I'm just going to save it on my desktop as well. 1 second. So once that's saved, then I can publish. Because until you save a file, you can't publish it. So now it's saved. Now I can publish. Where am I publishing it to? I'm publishing it to our workspace. So you can publish to many different workspaces, but this is the one we created for this class. So I'll publish to our workspace. I click on select. Before I even publish, let's do something again. Let's go back to that workspace. Just before I publish. This is the workspace now. Let me refresh. Again, it's still blank. It's like creating an Instagram account without posting any picture. The account is still there, but there is no picture. That's what the workspace is now. So now let's post something into it. Publish. That's done. Got it. Now let's go back to the workspace. See what do we have there. Now we have something published. What do we have? We have so when you publish a report to Power BI, you get two things. You get a report and a semantic model. I'll explain what they are. A report is the dashboard, the charts and everything, if you have any. In our case, it's blank, so it's empty. We don't have anything there. The semantic model, on the other hand, is the container that holds all of your data and the relationships that they have. So in our case, we only have one table. So I click on that. What do I see? I can see the one table that I have, just month number table with the month and the month number. So the semantic model is like the container that holds the data, and that's the engine that powers whatever reports or charts that you have in the reports. So you can have a blank report and a very loaded semantic model. Does that make sense? You can have a blank report and have a semantic model with 100, 200 different tables. So that's what a semantic model is. So for every time you publish a Power BI report, you get two things. You get a report that has the visuals, the charts, and the semantic model, which is like the container that actually holds data. So we've done our first publish. We've created our workspace. We understand what a semantic model and a report. We understand what semantic models and reports are. So now let's actually try to connect some data. Okay, I see a hand up. Let's see. Go for it.
Hi, David. Just very quick question. Is it possible to delete the semantic model? And if so, what happens to the report if that happens?
If you delete the semantic model, then the report has nothing to stay on, to write on, if that makes sense.
Okay, so
it's
which
connected.
means which means that semantic model is actually quite key, because without that, then you don't get
It's more important. It's more important than the report.
Okay.
Let me use another example to maybe give it more context. So imagine if you build a house with a roof and then you remove everything under the roof. Does the roof stay? It doesn't stay. Because the report is the roof on the house. Without the house, the roof is useless. Does that make sense? So that's how it works. Okay. So we're going to pull in some data now, and then we can actually see how to connect the data and take it from there. If you have any question, please, by all means, go ahead and ask. Where are these files? Okay, so let's connect to some data. Yeah, we're going to connect to 4 different Excel files. But as I said, with Power BI, you can connect to different types of sources. So the fact that most classes use Excel is because Excel is easy to access. It's easy to get an Excel file. For those that have taken my course before, when it gets to the capstone, you actually connect to not just Excel, you connect to like a live database, just so you can mix things up. Because in the real world, it's not just Excel files you'll be connecting to. So for learning, Excel, yes, but when it comes to real practical work, it's very unlikely you connect to Excel. There are other tools that you need to connect to. But for the class, we're going to use Excel. So our data source is Excel workbook. But before I do that, let's look at the different types of data sources that we have. We have Excel, TextVSV, we have Parquet, SQL Server, IBM, SAP HANA, BigQuery, so Snowflake. So there are many different sources that you can connect to. Not necessarily just Microsoft sources. There is Salesforce, there is Google Analytics. There are so many sources. And that list is only going to grow longer because the more integrations Microsoft has, the easier it is to connect to their data sources. So almost any top system you need or you work with actually has a connector already. You just have to come here, connect, put the right credentials, and then you reach your data. For this class, I did in Excel. So let's connect to Excel workbook. It's taking me to the file now, and I'm going to bring my screen up in a bit. Just trying to navigate to the actual folder. Okay, so these are the Excel files that I want to connect to. There are four. First one is car produce. I click on the file. I click on open. Power BI goes into the file, gives me like a preview of what's in the file. There is just one sheet. So that's the data in the file. It's like a preview. It's not a lot going on there, as you can see. So this is the Excel file. If the file had like 4 or 5 sheets, I'll get a list of 4 or 5 sheets, but it has only one sheet. So do I want this sheet? I click on tick. I'm selecting that sheet. I want you to bring in that data. I click on load. Power BI brings in that data, and that data is here. What's the name of the table again? It was called car produce. So what do? I can rename this by just double clicking, and I type in the correct name, car produce. Coyote, I can see your hand. Just give me 1 second. Car produce. So we brought in our first data table that we did not type in, that we actually imported. It's from an Excel file, and it's called car produce. Car produce. Let's bring in all 4, and then I'll come to Coyote. Get data again is still Excel. So let's go to Excel again. This time around, we want P sales. Click on open. So this time around, the Excel file has 3 sheets. So there is sales 2019, sales 2020, and sheet 3. I want all 3. So I'm going to click on the check boxes, tick on all 3. So if I only wanted one, for example, I'll tick on the one that I want and just bring that. But I want all 3. So I'll tick on the 3 and then I'll click on load. So this is my data sourcing. I am sourcing for my ingredients for whatever I want to cook. This is my data sourcing. I'm going to an actual source and I'm pulling the data. I have not transformed. I have not cleaned. I have not even looked at it. I am just importing. So now I have car produce, sales 2019, sales 2020. Sheet 3 did not have a name in Excel. That's why it's sheet 3. I'm going to rename that to be other data. Other data. So we've connected to 2 sources, but we've brought in 4 tables. One source only had 1 table. Another source had 3 tables. So a data source and a data table are not the same thing. A source is a source. A table is a table. One source can have many tables, but every single table must belong to a source. So a source can have many tables, but every single table must belong to a source. The source in this case are the Excel files. In the Excel files, I have multiple sheets that come up to be multiple tables. If in a source I only had 1 sheet, that's just 1 table, as is the case with car produce. But when I went to P sales, I had sales 2019, sales 2020, and then sheet 3, which I have now called other data. So 1 source, 3 tables. 1 source, 1 table. 2 sources, 4 tables. Coyote.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify something. Importing this data one after the other and actually importing the file, connecting to the file directly, then importing it to Power BI. Is there any difference? If there is, please, can you just clarify, please?
So you cannot import without connecting. So it's not one or the other. I have to connect to the file first before I can import from that file.
Okay.
So it's not that. So this is the live connection to the file. If something was to change in that file, it will reflect here. So you cannot you're not creating a copy of the file, just to clarify. So it's not like I'm creating a copy of what's in that file. No, I am connecting to the actual file. If something changes in that file, if I refresh this, it will reflect. So it's a connection. It's still a connection.
Sorry, I meant folder. Connecting to the folder where the file is versus connecting to the individual file in the folder.
So pulling data from a folder is different from pulling data from a file. And you can't bring in the whole folder, because unless every single data in that folder is the same structure, it's going to be a mess. Okay. So these are different data sets that are holding different kinds of data in different formats. So I can't combine them into one data set. If I had one folder that had the same data for like maybe 10 different years, same structure, but different data lines, I can combine that file as one data source. That way, Power BI just models all the different Excel files together as one, and it's one table. Does that make sense? It's a merge.
Yeah.
But when you have different data doing different things in the same folder, you cannot just pick the folder. You have to go to the file and pick the file. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So we brought in from 2 sources, 4 tables. We have 2 more to go. Get data again, Excel workbook, same folder, car sold. Open. Now this one, sheet 1, tick, load. I'm going to rename that again to car sold, since the sheet doesn't have a name. Rename. Car sold. 1 more to go. Get data, Excel workbook. Kayode, your hand is still up. Is that a new question or the former one? So now in Excel, in this superstore, we have 6 options. We have table 1, table 3, table 4. We have orders, people, and returns. Because I'm familiar with the data, I know it's just a replication of this. So I'm just going to go with orders, people, and returns. Orders, people, and returns. Those are the 3 I care about. I click on load. Cool. So those 3 tables are in. So in total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tables. We have 9 tables that we brought in from Excel. From 5 sources actually, 4 Excel files and 1 that we actually typed in the data, the one that are entire data. That's the month number. So 9 tables from 5 sources, 4 Excel sources, and 1 that I manually typed in. Are we good? Are we good? So I'm going to save this now. Again, I have not done any cleaning. I have not done any transformation. I have not done nothing with that data. If I save and I publish to our Power BI service, let's see what happens. Replace. Done. So let's go to Power BI service and see what happens. So I've updated this now because I just published again. Let's refresh. And let's look at the semantic model again. Remember I said it's the container that actually holds the data. How many tables do we have now? We have our 9 tables. Are we together? We have our 9 tables. So we don't have a single chart, but we already have a Power BI resource, the semantic model, that holds data from 9 different tables that we can actually use in Excel. And how do I mean? Click on Analyze in Excel, for example, and see how all of these tables will actually just fit into one pivot table in Excel. So you have these synergies between Power BI and Excel, Power BI and PowerPoint, and I'll show you how these things work. So let's open this semantic model in Excel. So this is an Excel pivot table for those that are familiar. Enable content. And guess what? Our 9 tables from our Power BI semantic model are available for us to use within Excel. Tony?
Yeah, hi David. So if I have a data set in Excel, it's cleaned, everything is good, and it's not hanging, that means it contains within the Excel data sheets very well, no hanging. What would be the plus of using Power BI?
So I mean, data in itself is meaningless. What happens to that data is the question. What are you doing with that data?
Okay, so I want to just put I want to pick give it visual. So I plot graphs with it and then plot graphs and explain it to people. Would probably have any other plus beyond what Excel can do with that. I don't know about the range of graphs Power BI has, so maybe in that regard, but if it's just
if it's a one-time static process, I don't see why you should use Power BI. I think it's a waste of time. That's not what Power BI is for. So all your charts and graphs you can do in PowerPoint. Power BI is for the automation of a continuous reporting process. So if that data was coming from a system that is live and continuously updating itself, that's where Power BI comes in. Because every time that data changes, Power BI picks up the latest data, updates all the calculations and charts, and continues to do that maybe even every hour. So it's not a one-time thing. It's on a schedule. It continues to refresh, and that's why it's called real-time live reporting. The data you're referring to in Excel is static data. It's data that you today, tomorrow, next week is static. It's the same data. So that's not what Power BI is for. Power BI is for moving data.
Okay, thank you. That's very new to me. Thank you so much.
No worries. So again, have you seen the synergy between Power BI and Excel? We have not cleaned data. We have not modeled data. We've only connected to data. So we haven't even really done anything. Are there any more questions before I carry on? We have 9 tables. Yeah, so let's see where we are. We've created a workspace. I've talked about data sources. I've explained the difference between a data source and a data selection. The source is the Excel file. The selection is the sheet you care about on that file. Yeah, same way if you connect to a database table, you'd have many different databases or many different tables there. You select the ones you care about. So the source is the source. A source would have many tables. You select the tables you care about. We've published the Power BI reports. We now understand what a semantic model is and what a report is and what the difference are. Semantic model is the container that holds the data. That is what powers the reports. The report is the charts, the visuals, and all the fancy stuff. Import mode versus direct query. This is relevant to when you want to actually connect to data. There are 2 options. The import mode basically pulls the data into your Power BI desktop file. So the data is like pulled over to your file. The direct query doesn't pull the data, it just connects to the data wherever it is. So you can do transformations and actually carry out things with the data. Stick to import mode, because with direct query, you can't really do anything with data. You can only pull. You can't change, you can't even edit it, you can't transform it, you can't do many other things that you'd want to do with Power BI. There are scenarios where it's fine to use direct query, but as a learner, as a beginner, you want to stick to import because you actually want to work with the data. So there are data modelers, there are data modeling teams that do all your modeling and cleaning. So most times, like in the NHS, for example, there are data engineers that do your data models. So a BI person in NHS, for the most part, is only going to connect to a model that is clean and ready to go via direct query, and they just focus on the chart stuff. But for like those of us that actually have to do all the data cleaning and engineering, we have to stick to import mode. So those are steps 1 and 2 done. It's as simple as that. I know you might be like, is that really it? Is Power BI that simple? Well, I think it all depends on which teaching you. Let's jump into steps 3 and 4. We're going really fast, and that's good, I guess.
David, you keep saying is that David?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, Joy, you keep saying it's that simple. You
Is it difficult?
forgetting that it's difficult for us beginners.
Okay, what part is difficult? Let's talk.
No, like I'm not saying, but the way it seems to you, because you've gotten used to it and everything, it doesn't look like no. What you're saying is kind of very, very vague to us, the beginners. But you keep saying simple. In my head, I would say, really, is this simple?
Let me tell you how I interpret it, because I'm not getting many questions, and my understanding of that is, it's not because you don't understand. You understand what I'm saying, but obviously, it would take some time, some practice, some exposure to be that confident. So for today, it actually makes sense. You understand, because again, I'm not getting a lot of questions. So it means it is landing. Obviously, it's just seed. It still needs to grow, and that will come with time and practice, and with time, you build your Power BI muscles.
True.
Yeah, at this point, it's fairly straightforward. I've tried to keep it as simple as you can see. I don't have plenty of notes on my screen, so you're not reading anything.
Yeah.
Just so you can listen and really follow through.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
steps 3 and 4. I mean, do you have any questions from steps 1 and 2 before I go to 3 and 4? 1 and 2, any questions? Are we fine with workspace, Power BI service, data sources, how to connect, import movers to directory, publishing, semantic model? Is everybody happy with that? You see joy? Everybody's happy. Moving on. Data cleaning and transformation and data modeling. So this is where the bulk of the work actually happens in Power BI. This is where the bulk of it happens. Let's get right into it. What's the importance of data cleaning and transformation? I give you the example of a postcode. An example of a postcode is E16 1EP. So E16 space 1EP. E16 space 1EP is not the same thing as E16 1EP without the space. In the data world, there are two different things. And so, in fact, I'm going to give you like 4 or 5 different variations of one single data that people can type incorrectly, and then it can just give you troubles. Enjoy.
Yeah, just a quick one. Yeah, is there a similarity between Power BI and Salesforce?
So Salesforce is an ERP. It's more of a data collector. It's not a data analytics tool. So Power BI would pull data from Salesforce to present and do your analysis. Salesforce is like something that helps you to like streamline processes. So they are not the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Salesforce is an ERP. ERPs are enterprise resource planning solutions.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. So I wanted to show you guys the importance of data cleaning. So let's take our postcode, for example. Postcode is E16 1EP. That's E16 with the space. Someone else will fill the form and put E16 1EP without the space. Someone can put E space 16. And look, if you've worked with surveys and forms and stuff, you'll know that people do these things. People, yeah, and that's why when you design a form that you want to analyze, the worst thing you can do is to make everything free text, because you can't analyze anything. And that's why I've noticed, as much as possible, when you fill forms for companies, they don't really let you do free text, because they know by doing free text you're going to give them problems. So if you want to select delivery address, for example, from eBay or from a shopping site, they ask for your postcode and they ask you to select the address. So that whole process is a data validation process. What that validation process does is it validates the data you're about to enter to be sure the data is good to go before you put it in. So it's very rare you get a company that asks you, or delivery company that asks you to type in your address. No, because they don't trust you to type it correctly. So they ask you to select your postcode. They give you a drop down. You select from. So that way you cannot make a mistake. So that's data validation. They are validating the entry before they commit it to memory, because they don't want mistakes. Okay. So the worst thing you can do with data is to give people free text, because people will type rubbish. And when they type rubbish, the more messy your data, the more cleaning you have to do. It's that simple. So as much as possible, to avoid any mess, you restrict the free text that you let people type. This is the same postcode written in 3 or 4 different ways. I'll do another one. E16 1EP space at the end. So that space, for example, you are never going to see it because you can't see the space, but you can see it because I typed it. These 4 postcodes are not the same thing in the data world. They are not the same thing. So Power BI or any data file or any data tool actually will see this as 4 postcodes, when in real sense, it's just one. It's one postcode, but with plenty nonsense variations of the same postcode. So this is an example of why you have to clean data, you have to prep data, and this is why data cleaning and transformation is super, super important. Because what that does is it makes your data analysis ready. You know, analysis is garbage in, garbage out. If you don't clean data like this, and you do a report based on postcodes, you're going to say you have 4 postcodes, but that's not correct. You have 1. You have 1 and 3 of the same one that has been typed incorrectly. So without cleaning, you're going to analyze nonsense. And so cleaning is super, super important, because it just distorts your results and whatever analysis you're carrying out. So do we understand the importance of cleaning with that very simple example? Yeah, I'll say we do because it's straightforward. Also, another type of transformation is making sure data is in the correct data type. What are data types? Does anybody want to try? What are data types? What are data types? Does anybody want to try? And I'm using Excel to explain some concepts because it just makes it easier for you to understand. Who was that? Was that Chubzo? Go on. What are data types?
Yeah, I mean, anything could be data. It could be number, it could be text, it could be image, it could be anything. Anything can be a data.
So what are data types?
I'd say numbers, text, and the likes.
Exactly. Those are data types. Data types give some sort of structural meaning to a number or a text or whatever data it is. Okay. So if this is meant to be a text, then it's a text. If this is meant to be a number, it's a number. So I'll give you an example. If I let's say I type in a number 753. If I say this number is a text, for example, if I convert this to a text, because it's Excel, it might work. So if I do this multiply by 2, because it's Excel, it will work. But ordinarily, since this is the text, I should not be able to perform any calculation on it. It's like saying I want to multiply Ola by 2. I get the error because it's text. So that's why it's important to have data in the right data type, the right format. And what are the data types we have? We have text, we have numbers, we have decimal, we have fixed decimal, and we have different types that I would see in Power BI. So it's important to have data in the right format. Data types is what those are. And before we go on another break, I'm going to ask one question. Your telephone number, Chubuzo, don't answer this. Is your telephone number a text or a number?
Number.
And before you answer, wait, don't worry. Don't just say it's a number. You explain why. So raise up your hand, tell me your answer, and tell me why your answer is your answer. So the question, is your telephone number a number or a text? Joy. Joy.
Yes.
Is your telephone number a number or a text? And why?
It's a number.
Because it's telephone number, Abi?
No, actually, because it hasn't been processed yet as a data.
Okay, hold on to that thought. Adeomi.
So it's a number basically, because they are not texts, and there are also other characteristics of characters basically, but because they are not texts and they are strings too.
Okay, you're saying a lot of things because a text cannot, a number cannot be a string, but you know what? That's fine. Uchendu. Yeah, Uchendu. Uchendu Cynthia. Go on. You're muted if you're speaking. Uchendu, you're muted if you're speaking. I can't hear you. Okay, maybe I'll come back to her. Abatan Ruth.
Hi, I'll say telephone number is a text because I don't think you intend to carry out any calculation on the phone number.
Okay, hold on to that thoughts. Charles Coker. Charles.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Is that Charles speaking?
Yeah, that's Charles. So
yeah,
apparently, I was going to kind of agree with the last speaker that spoke, right? Initially, I was quite in between, agreeing to the fact that it's a number. But again, I just kind of remember the fact that for some phone numbers, depending on the country codes, there are times kind of, use symbols or signals.
Wait. Let's not use country code. Let's start from 0. I know if you want to put plus, it's easy. So remove country code. Start from 0.
Okay,
is it a number
starting from 0, I'll still agree with that last person. I think it's not a number, so I'll say it's a text.
Okay, don't use country code to cover. Okay, thank you. No problem. Next is Ayodeji.
I think it's a test, like the last speaker said. If you're entering phone number in an Excel sheet, it the first zero is it gets taken out because it is read as zero is read as a number in that sense, but because you want to process the data as a text, not as number. So that's why I think it's a text, not a number in this sense.
Yep, I think you've answered the question. In the data world, your phone number is a text. Why? Because without the first zero, the number is not the same. So we need that zero. To keep that zero, it cannot be a number. No number starts with zero. So your phone number in the data world is a text. If you type your phone number in Excel, you lose the first zero. Is your number the same without the first zero? Absolutely not. And also, your phone number has no real numerical value. You cannot add your number. You cannot multiply your number. You cannot do an average of your phone numbers. So as a number, it's actually useless. Okay, so it's a text. It has no numerical value as a number. So why is it a number? It's a text. Time for another break. Thank you very much. When we come back, we do some transformations. 2 hours down, 2 hours to go. This time around, it'll be a 15-minute break. And then, yeah, we'll come back and go again. If you have questions, drop in the chat. If you decide to leave us early, please give us a review on the link there. And yeah, we still have a few more things to cover, and then I'll release you guys for good. Don't get tired yet. This is my clock. I'll drop the timer as usual. So I'm going to come back. Okay, music over, break over. There's a hand up. IODG. IODG, you can speak.
Oh, sorry, that was from the last time.
Okay. Are we back?
Yes, we are.
All right, cool. We're almost done, don't worry. We talked about the importance of data cleaning and transformation. We haven't done any actual cleaning or transformation, but we know the importance. We will do some, so you see. We've talked about data types. You can have text, number, decimal, etc. So now let's go into some actual data cleaning and transformation, which is what happens in a space called Power Query. It's easier to explain this using Power BI itself. So I'm back to my Power BI file. I remember when we were doing our talk, there was a button here called transform data. That button basically does what it says it does. It transforms data. It cleans and transforms data. So whenever you click on transform data, you get a new pop-up window. And this window is called Power Query. So it's called the Power Query editor. That's what this window is called. This is where you do all your transformations that you want to do your data. You can do so much here. So much. It's like I don't know. There's so much that can happen here. And as we go along with the course, you guys you'd agree with me that you can do a lot more here. Again, this window is called Power Query. Let me close it. How did I get here? From home, transform data, a new pop-up window comes up. And this window is called Power Query. It's not as pretty as the original one, but it's fine. It's a powerhouse. Okay. So now we know how to get to Power Query. We know what Power Query is. Now we need to learn how to use Power Query. Cool. We're going to carry out some simple transformation tasks that will help you understand what Power Query is and how Power Query works. And by no means am I going to show you every single thing that happens in Power Query. It's not even possible. I don't know it. But the ones that I'll show you would let you have a very accurate picture of what is capable in this particular view, what you can achieve here. And yeah, we start with data gets transformed. So let's start with the first table. It's the month number table, the one that I actually typed in. It's very short data. There's not much going on there. It's pretty simple. There's not much to clean up there. So that's fine. Let's move on to the next table. And what I'm basically doing is I'm trying to look at the data, check if it needs any sort of transformation or cleaning, and then I'll step in to do it. That's what this process is like. And for the first table that we have, month number table, because it's not a real table. And though I should also make this point that not every time you pull data from somewhere that you need to clean. There are times where the data is actually clean. So there are times where you pull data from sources and the data is fine. You don't have to do anything. So that is completely normal. If the data is clean, don't force it. Don't look for problems where there are no problems. So it's not every single time you need to clean data. Sometimes the data is fine. The data is clean. It doesn't need any cleaning. Just carry on with your work. Let's go to car produce. Does this look clean? Or does anybody think something needs to be adjusted here? Does this table look clean? Anybody? I mean, since it's not an overwhelming number, we can just go interactive mode. Does this look clean? Do you see any problem with this particular table? Anybody? Is car produce table? Are we happy with it?
No, the numbers are not arranged.
What numbers? What column are you referring to?
The car produce itself, we have 5,000, 3,000, 3,500. It should be in probably ascending orders or
Of what
descending
value?
orders.
Of what value would that be to us?
No idea. That's all I can pick.
Doesn't. I mean, the order doesn't really affect anything if you think about it.
Yeah, I guess.
Doesn't do anything for us. So that's not a problem. It's a non-issue.
I guess we should work on the test
column.
column.
What's the problem with the test column?
Has no values and text values at the same time.
It has no meaningful data. Let's just keep it simple.
Yeah.
If you think about it, there's nothing meaningful there. So what do we do to a column like that?
We delete.
We delete the column. How do I do that?
Yeah.
Right click and what? Remove. Boom. That's it. Happy days. If I made a mistake, how do I undo that? Does anybody know? If that was a mistake, maybe I deleted the wrong column. How do I fix that?
You can take it off from the remove columns to undo it
Where?
from the right-hand side of the query settings.
Cool. Now let's introduce you to this part of the query settings, applied steps. This section of this particular view, it's like a log of every single transformational step that you do. So every single thing you do to your data, it gets logged there. I just remove the column. That's the log. If I don't want that step, I click on cancel. That step is undone. So every single thing you do gets logged under applied steps. It's like a diary for every action you take because it's very easy to lose track. So at any point in time, if you need to retrace your steps, it's right there. Applied steps will tell you what you have done at every particular step for every table. Okay, so remove column, right click, remove, column is gone. Do we need to do any other cleaning or transformation on this particular table? Can I produce?
So
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yes, first. Yes. What do you want to screen?
So the data type for the year column says it's a number. It should be a text.
Why?
Because if you wanted to do any analysis using the year, you would want your visuals to reflect your analysis, to bring out your analysis as a text, right? If you leave it as a number, it would just sum up the year values and it won't be useful to you. Just as you said with the phone number.
I get your point, but that might not necessarily
But
be the case.
there's
But
a
I get
data
your point.
type called date, so we need to change the year.
Yeah, but
to-
this is not a date, though, is it? Is this a date? Think about it. Is this actually a date? It's not a date. I mean, a date cannot have just a year. A date has to have the day, the month, and the year, right? So that's a date. This is just the year. So is it really a date?
Yeah, but if you're analyzing, would you not then, like the first speaker say, maybe aggregate the numbers because it is reading it as a number as opposed to just counting as distinct years, so to speak.
So for this particular column, it can be either or both. I don't think it does any damage, to be honest. Especially because no year starts with 0, so you don't really have that risk of what you have with the phone number. So if you keep it as number, if you don't want it to aggregate, you can do that in the dashboard. It's possible. You can keep it as text as well. So any of those two options is fine. I don't think you lose anything by not doing the other one. So we can go with text, that's fine. But if you have left it as number, I don't think we lose anything. Does that make sense? It's just better to be consistent. If you want to do here as text, then let's maintain that across board. Does that make sense? I already did your hand is up. Okay, I'm just gonna carry on. So let's go with text, not because number is wrong. Again, we don't really lose anything. And again, this is because I know the data. Let's go to sales 2019. Any problem here? Anybody? Do you spot anything? Does anything look abnormal in this particular data set?
No.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Data set is fine. So we just crack on. Sales 2020. Anything? So we've seen how to delete a column, right? Go on. What did anybody see something?
I think it's okay.
It's okay.
2020 is good.
It is okay. Other data, okay. What do you guys think? It is okay.
No.
This is not okay, definitely.
No.
What's the
from
problem?
row 4 downwards needs to be deleted, and then column
5.
Column 5, yeah. Also, needs to be deleted.
So we have too
can
many
I
blank
quickly
columns.
add something?
Go on.
Now, I'm looking at this data now. You know, the way we just put it on screen, and then we already said, "Oh, from here to here needs to go." What if there's somewhere down where there is data? I don't know if you understand. Like it's just
in this case, there is actually. It's just that before we get to it, I have to scroll. So yeah, in this particular data set, can you see there is?
So what will you do in this scenario?
There is data there, but the question then is it useful data? The fact that it's there doesn't mean it's playing any role. In this particular instance, it's not useful data, so it's useless data. We can get rid of it. But yes, you're right. Do you understand what I mean? So yes, you're correct. There is that in this case, but does this give us any significant value? Do we lose anything by getting rid of it? Absolutely not. So yes, by all means, we can yank it off. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have
how do you know if it's useful data or not? Very
exactly.
Good.
Will you have to hover down to check the data yourself when you have thousands of columns?
Good. So this is where domain knowledge comes into play. And this is it's unusual you get a data set like this, by the way. There's nothing normal about how this data is, where everything is normal, and then you just have two cells in one bottom right hand corner. So this is not normal. But then again, how do you know what data is useful, what data is not? So that comes with domain knowledge. Okay. As good as my Power BI is, if I was to work in the NHS today, I would struggle significantly because I don't understand the domain. I don't know the data. I don't know the fields. I don't know anything. Okay, so that's where domain knowledge comes into play. When you work in a particular domain, you can tell based on experience what is useful and what's not useful. So that comes with time. That comes with knowledge. Comes with environment, and yeah, that just comes with the terrain that you're in. So that's the answer to that question. Because if you put me in a completely different domain today, I would struggle like I have no clue what I'm doing, because I simply do not understand the space. So yeah, that comes with time. It comes with getting familiar with how things work, and yeah, after some time, you're able to make this calls that okay, this is rubbish. I can get rid of it. So Uchendu, I hope that answers the question. Adeomi, then Nerissa.
Sorry, in a situation whereby the data has lots of maybe millions of columns and rows in this situation, and then after loading the data, you are only able to see the screen. So would you rather need to maybe do some kind of washing or maybe sorting just to know if they are hidden data that would be useful or not, if you are not that experienced in that domain, but you want to work with that data?
So I mean, if you have like so many columns, is that the question? And then how do you know? I think that there was a lot in that question as well. I've missed out a bit. Do you want to go again?
Yes. So if, for example, this particular data, maybe in some of the rows, you then have other data. So when you load them to Power BI straightforward, does it just give you what it recommends? It suggests as maybe the meaningful data, or basically you would need to sort and then to find out if maybe in maybe column 1000 and something, there is a particular data there that would be useful.
So Power BI will do what you tell it. Power BI will not make proposals to you. So it's up to you. And that's why before you get technical with any particular data, or before you start showing all your Power BI stunts, you need to understand the data. You need to familiarize yourself with it. Okay, you can't just grab data and go with it. No, you can build a beautiful chart that is full of beautiful nonsense. Okay, so you can't just grab data and go with it like, and that's why when people post Power BI dashboards and all stuff, I'm like, it's pretty, but if I don't have the requirement, I don't know if you've done the right thing. Okay, so you might have something that is very beautiful, but if I don't have the requirements, then how do I know it's not beautiful nonsense? Does that make sense? So you familiarize yourself with the data, and you can, in this case now, it's dummy data. It's just a crash course. We're just learning. We're just teaching. So even if we delete what is important in this particular class, we don't really lose much. There's nothing at stake. Okay, what we're trying to show is those concepts, how to delete, how to remove, and those are the things we should focus on, not necessarily what we are deleting, because again, it's just a class. Whatever we delete, there's nothing at stake. Does that make sense? But then again, how do you delete when you want to delete? That's what we should focus on, not really what we are deleting. I can delete an entire table here and it doesn't affect anything. Because again, it's just a class. It's not real world. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's
When
yeah, it
you're
does.
in the real ocean, the real water, you will know how to swim. This is not the real water. This is dummy pool. When you're inside the real water
Okay.
that is boiling, you will know what not to delete. I guarantee you.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's not overthink that. What we're trying to show you is the kind of transformations that we can do. Whether or not they're accurate, it depends on the context. And in this case, we have a free hand. So in the previous table, we deleted the column. In this table, we have more columns to delete than we have to keep. So does it make sense to keep selecting every single column? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the question is, what if I had 1,000 columns? Will I select 997 to delete? So in this case, we have more columns to delete than we have to keep. So instead of clicking on the columns I want to delete, why not click on the columns I want to keep? So I click on this, hold control, these are the 4 columns I want. I've selected them, right click. Now what do I do? Instead of remove columns, what do? I click on remove other columns. The first time we selected what we wanted to remove. Now we are selecting what we want to keep. So I've removed other columns. Those ones are gone. Now I'm left with the nulls. What do? I can remove rows. What rows do I want to remove? Blank rows. I click on that. Bam. So we've gone from this to this with less than 5 clicks of a button. Do we understand how we've transformed this particular data from the hot mess it was to a very simple, straightforward table that we have now by just clicking different things? That is exactly how data transformation works. We did not write code. We did not do anything crazy. We just looked for the right buttons, selected the right fields, and Power BI did the rest. Nothing technical, nothing crazy. Are we fine with this table now, or do we still want to proceed? Do you think we have more cleaning to do here? But this is good. Castle Parian. Yep.
Could you kindly repeat the last step, please?
Yep. You know what? I'm just going to cancel it and let's go again. So this is our hot mess data. Yep. I want to clean it up. I want to keep column 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm clicking and holding control. How do I get rid of the rest? Right click, remove other columns because I've selected the ones I want to keep. The rest are gone. Now I have a lot of blank rows. What do? Remove rows. What are the options there? It says remove blank rows. Nulls are blanks. I click on that. The nulls are gone. My data looks better. Any more questions? That's an example of data transformation. So this data from source did not come like this, but we've cleaned and transformed it into a state that is better for analysis. This is you chopping your pepper. This is you blending your tomatoes. This is you washing your onions and your rice. We are transforming the raw ingredients into a ready state for our analysis. Next table, household. Are we good on this table? Is everything fine? Does everything look fine? Anybody? Does everything look fine? Everything looks fine. Let's not waste time. Others? Does everything look fine here? This is like our main table, our busiest table. You know what? I know the data, so yeah, this table is fine. We'll do something with this table, but not clean. We'll transform it, but not clean. So in terms of cleaning, data is clean, so that's fine. Let's leave that one, but we'll come back to it. People, is this table fine?
No, it's not.
What's the problem?
I think the
row
the
one.
heading are
The
not
first
good.
row.
Yeah, the headings are
Asin
wrong.
and region.
The headings are wrong. The headings are in the first row instead of being the headings. So how do we fix that? There are buttons. There's a button here. What it says? Use first row as headers. We know the correct headers are in the first row. So we want Power BI to fix that. Promote the first row as headers. I click on that. We have our correct headers. And on this step here, promoted headers. So now we've also transformed this data from having the wrong column names to the correct column names because they were in the first row. Are we still together? Now let's go to the last table, returns. Do we have any problem here? yes, we have the same problem because our headers are in the first row. Use first row as headers, solves that problem. Happy days. So in terms of cleaning transformation, with respect to what this particular data needs, as of now, we've done all that. Now, this is an easy example. It's not always easy. There are way more complex things we can do here. So Cynthia, I'm just going to undo that step so you can see what I did. As you can see in this particular table, the header is column 1, column 2. That's not correct because the headers are in the first row. These are the correct headers. So how do I do that? I click on use first row as headers, and then Power BI promotes that first row as the headers, and we have the correct headers. That's what I've done. Cynthia, I hope you got it that time. So are these the only things we can do in transform data? Absolutely not. We've done what we think is necessary for this particular data set, but now I'm going to do more. I'm going to create problems just to explain concepts. Okay, we don't have problems, but I'll create them just to explain concepts because there is so much more you can do here. So how do we duplicate a column? You basically right click on the column and duplicate column, and you have a copy of that column. Okay, so I'm just going to be showing you some things you can do on this particular window. So that's how to duplicate the column. We don't need that, so I'm going to delete it. How do you duplicate a table? So let's say you want this table twice. You can right click and duplicate the table. You get a copy of that table. We don't need it again. I'm going to delete. Again, I'm just showing you the kind of things you can do with Power Query. You might be wondering, what's the point of duplicating a table? Well, you might want to run an experiment on the particular table without wanting to tamper with the original table. So you can create a duplicate and do your experiments there. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, you just delete it instead of having to disrupt the original table. Does that make sense? How do you rename columns? You can rename columns. Let's go to others. Let's go to car produce. So we can, this is called car produce. We can rename this to car produce numbers, for example. Just double click on it and rename it. And that's it. Very simple, like you do in Excel. Double click and rename the columns. That's done. We've removed nulls. We did that with people. No, with was other data, I think. We took out the nulls, if you remember. This was us with nulls. And then we took out the nulls. So we've seen how to remove nulls. Nulls are blanks, so we've seen how to remove blanks. Trim. Does anybody know what trim is? Has anybody used the function trim in Excel before? What is trim? What is trim? Does anybody know what trim is? Nobody.
Right.
I'll get.
Right.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah, like to remove excess spaces.
Exactly. Let me explain it for those that are not familiar with it. Trim is a function that helps you to get rid of extra spaces. What do I mean? Let me type in my name here. David. This is David. And then this is David with an extra space. If it's the same, in terms of just looking at it from the naked eye, yes, they are. But in terms of data, no, they are not. How do I prove that? Is this David equal to this David? What does Excel say? False. They are not the same. Why? Because one has a space. How do we check that again? Let's count the number of characters in each of them. What's the length of this particular character? First one says 5. Second one says 6, meaning this one is longer than this one. Why? Because there's an additional space. That space is actually data. So how do we fix that? We fix that with a function called trim. Trim this David. And trim, so I'm just going to drag the formula down. Trim that David. Now let's count again. How many characters do we have in this new David that we've trimmed? Excel says 5. Drag the formula down. What do we have? 5. So now are these two Davids the same? Excel says yes, they are the same because with trim, we have gotten rid of that extra space. Many of you, when you filled the form for this particular course, you added extra spaces to your email address. I had to trim it because if I had just gone with what you sent to me, you will not get the email because your email address is wrong. So even with the forms you people filled, I had to do some cleaning so you guys don't miss the emails. For some people, the email address, they put at gmail.com with double M. I had to go in there and clean it because if I just took the data as it is, you will miss the email. How do you undo an action? You undo it by just canceling it under apply steps. That's how you undo it. Click on X and delete that step, and the action is gone. Okay. So now I've shown you how trim works. To trim a particular field, just click on the column name, go on the transform, and then where is that one? Under format, you see trim. So when you click on trim, Power BI just gets rid of whatever extra spaces you have there. Also under format, you have lowercase, makes it all lowercase. You have uppercase, makes it all uppercase. You have capitalized each word to make each word capitalized. You can add a prefix. You can add a suffix. An example of a prefix is, if you remember, for those of you that went to uni in Nigeria, your matric numbers, you have the year and something, maybe 09/ blah, blah, blah. So that's an example of a prefix. If you want to add a prefix, you can do that. Let's experiment a bit. Let me go to, let's say, castled. So let me duplicate this column. Again, this is just for illustration purposes. Let's add a prefix here. Let's add AAA. I mean, it's a very random example. So AAA hyphen. I click on OK. What happens? That's brought into every row. If I had 10 million rows in this particular table, this would apply to the 10 million rows by just the same clicks that I've done. Okay, that's prefix. Same approach for suffix. That one just happens after the text. Okay. How do you split a column? Can you split a column? Yes, you can split a column. And I'll give you an example. In our people's table, we have person that has the first name and the last name. What if I wanted to extract the first name separate from the last name? But in my data, it has come as one. What can I do? Well, you can split that column. How do I do that? There's a button there, split column by delimiter. Delimiter basically means what is the separator? What should I look for before I take a break? On what basis should I split this column? In our case, it's the space. There is a space between the first name and the last name. So delimiter is space, and I click on OK. So what do I get? I get two columns. I get one for the first name, another for the last name. This was before the split. This is after the split. What do I do now? I just tidy up and rename. I call this first name. Call this first name, and I call that one last name. So we've gone from having full name to deriving a first name and a last name. So we've transformed our data from here, from just this, to now first name, last name, and region. And which takes me to the next point, custom column. Custom column. So if I wanted to create a column that doesn't exist in my original data set, but I think is useful, how do I do that? Well, you can bring in new columns that are built based on a formula that you provide. Let's see what that looks like. I go to add column, add custom column. A custom column means a column that is based on a custom function or a custom formula. So this column, I'm going to call this email address. So remember, this table came with just full name. Out of the full name, we've been able to derive first name and last name. Now, because we have first name and last name, I want to cook up an email address. So let's say, for example, in our company, we have a standard email format. It's first name dot last name at davidaddy.tech. If I have your first name and your last name, it means I can create an email address for you if the format is the same. So I'm going to try and recreate that here using a formula. Column name is email address. The first text I need is first name. Now, what do I need next? I need a dot. So how do I bring that in? I use the ampersand. And that is like a glue, basically. It's like you use the combined text, like a concatenator. So that code should be inside the ampersand. Okay. What am I bringing into it? Bringing the last name. So now it's first name and the dot in quotation marks and the last name. So now this is taking us back to what we had before. That's like the full name. But what I'm trying to create here is an email address, not just the first name and last name. I had that before. So how do I bring an email address? I'll add again. Now I'm just going to add the domain name at davidade.tech. So now I have first name and a full stop and the last name and the domain name that I want to add to get the email address. I click on OK. What do I have? Now I have an email address that has the first name dot the last name at the domain that I want it to have. That column did not come in the data. We have created it. It's a custom column. So apart from the space, you can split, you can use many different things for the delimiter. There are many other options that you can have. I'll go there again just so you can see the options. So split by delimiter. I'll undo this later, so it's fine. So there's space, there's colon, there's comma, there's equal sign, there's tab. You can even define a custom delimiter. So there are many other options there. In our case, space is what we had, so it's fine. And we just carried on with that. So for example, if you had 3 names, first name, middle name, last name, you can do multiple splits and things like that. So the options are there that you can use to define the delimiter. In our case, it's space, so it was straightforward. We just went through that. Custom columns, do we understand what has happened? I've just created a completely new column based off the columns that we have. Again, we are transforming our data. We are transforming our data. This is not how our data came, but here we are making changes, refining it to make it fit for purpose. This is you blending your pepper. This is you chopping your garlic. Okay. Filtering is straightforward. Just drop down, select, uncheck, and whatever you select goes into Power BI. Whatever you unselect stays blocked. So that one's pretty straightforward. How do you change the data type? You can click on this button here, select the type you want. In this case, this is a text. So this is just a text. There's that. How do you replace values? How do you replace values? Okay. How do you replace values? I'll show you that in a bit. But before that, I want us to do some more splits. In my orders table, I have a lot of data. I have a lot of data that I think I can split into 3 different tables. So I have order data, I have customer data, and then I have product data in here. So I have this is my customer ID, that's my customer name. So this is customer data. Yeah, I have product ID, category, subcategory, that's my product data. And then the order itself, which is like the order ID here. So this could have easily been 3 different tables, one for the orders, one for the customers, one for the product. But it's in one table. There's nothing wrong with this, by the way. But again, for me to be able to explain certain concepts, I'm going to break them up. And so you can see how we connect them later on. So I'm going to derive 2 more tables from my orders table. Are we together? So I'm going to duplicate my orders table. From the orders, I want to derive a customer table. Same duplicates, and I also want to derive a product table. Cool. So I want my orders table to only have orders. And so what fields don't I need here? I don't need anything related to customer or product. So I select those fields. These are all customer relevant columns. And I also don't want product data here. So I select product as well. And I get rid of them. Again, this is what we've done before. So we've removed columns. So I'm not showing you anything new. But you see how this connects to something else later on. So we've done this before. I'm not showing you anything new here. So now I have orders table that doesn't have customer data or product data. That's fine. That's exactly what I want. Now let's go to my customer table. In my customer table, I only want customer details. I don't want order. I don't want product. So I want customer ID. I want customer name. I want segment. I want country. I want city. I want states. I want postal code. I want region. I don't want product stuff. So right click. What am I removing here? Order columns. I selected the columns that I want. So this is my customer table. These are the customer details that I want. The name, the segment, the country, the city, the state, postal code, and region. Now product table. I only care about product details here. I don't want any other thing. So product ID, product category, product name, and that's all. These are transactional data. These are other data, so I don't want them. I'll keep them. Remove other columns. Cool. So I have my products table. I have my customer table. I have my orders table. I have derived 2 more tables from 1 table. It's also an example of data transformation. The data did not come as 3 tables, but here I am splitting all the 3 tables because I want to prove a point or because I want to do something different. I have transformed the data to make it fit for purpose. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? No questions? Okay. We're still on 3 and 4. We still have 5 and 6, but it's fine. We'll be okay. Don't worry. I'm doing well for time. Okay, cool. So let's do 2 more major transformation steps, and then we can move on to modeling and then dashboard designs, and that will be step 6. We're currently on step 3 actually. We're on step 3 already. So there are 2 ways to combine data in Power BI, in Power Query, like data from 2 different tables. So let's say I want to combine 2 different tables, for example. See the way I split 1 table into 3. I can also combine those tables. So it's very possible. The first one is called an append. So when you append data, you add on to data. So I have table A and I bring on table B to add on to table A. So it's like one continuous table. But when you do a merge, it means I have table A on one side and then I bring table B on the right to join it. So for the append, I am expanding in height and maybe width. For the merge, I'm only expanding sideways. I'm not adding more rows to the data. So those are the 2 different types. You add on to data, or you just join data. Okay. And a very good example of where an append works in your day-to-day life is like your bank statement. The structure is the same, but for every single new transaction that comes in, you just add a new line. Okay, so the line just keeps getting longer. It's the same structure. So that's an example of where an append happens. Okay, but for a merge, it's not continuous. You add like side by side, and I'll explain what both of them are and how they work. Let me show you how append works first. We have sales 2019. We have sales 2020. These 2 data sets are very similar. They are the same. Nothing has changed within these 2 data sets. So the question is, do they have to be separate? Probably not. If both of them were in one table, we will lose anything. No, we won't. So this is an example of where you can do an append. So if I append sales 2019 and 2020 and any other future year together and just call the table total sales, because the year is there already, I can differentiate from the year. That's an example of an append. So let's see how that works. Home, no, not home. So not transform. What's going on Power BI? It's home, sorry. Home. So under combine, you see 2 options. You see merge queries, you see append queries. And if you look at the arrow of the direction of the movement, you can get a sense of what is happening. So append, you see the table coming from the bottom. You see merge, you see it coming side by side. So let's do an append. With each of the combinations, you have 2 options, but I'll explain the difference. Under append, you have append queries, just append normally, or append queries as new. So when you do append queries just normally, what that means is it will update this existing table with the new table. So not this one will still be 2019, but it will just add 2020. Let's see what I mean. Append queries. So you can do it for 3 or more tables, but in our case, we're doing for 2. I want to append 2020. I click on OK. Power BI brings 2020 data into 2019. Now I have one full table that has both. I have appended 2020 sales 2020 into sales 2019. Okay. Let me undo that step. If I choose the option to append as new, append queries as new, what happens is Power BI does the append, but as a completely different table, meaning my original sales 2019 remains, my original sales 2020 remains, then a combination of both actually happens. So now This is combined sales. So by appending as new, I have maintained my 2019 as it is, maintained my 2020, and created a completely new table that combines both of them. Do we understand what happens with append? When you append, you add on to data. It's continuous. I think I saw a hand now. Charles Coker. Okay, is that okay? I think it's thumbs up you wanted to give.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
So that's how append works. You add on to data. Now, before you append it out, do the data tables have to share the same structure? Ordinarily, you would think yes, but the honest truth is they don't. They're just adding on to it. Power BI doesn't care whether they're the same or not. So, for example, I have my combined sales data, and I have car produce. So, car produce has ID number, car produce numbers, and year. My combined sales has year, quarter, sales amount. If I append that particular one, so let's append car produce. What has happened? Power BI has looked for any similar columns that they share. And in this case, it's the year. So Power BI has lumped the years together. And what did it do? Create new columns for the fields that they do not share. So ID number is not in our original sales table. Cars produced numbers is not in our sales table. So it has added those new rows and nullified where they don't have anything. So to append tables, they don't necessarily have to share the same data structure. You can append tables that are not related. It is completely fine. Let's see. Let's see. You can ask your question. Your hand is up.
Yeah. So the question I have is, this is actually quite useful, but is this actually practical? Because now I'm thinking, what could you potentially do with these data as it is now, right? Like some of them are saying null, and what's is this something people actually do, such that, oh, you want to combine different things because they don't have the same format or structure, but you need all of them in one go, which is what you've done here. Does anyone actually do anything with this kind of data, knowing that there is no consistency across all the columns?
Yeah, they do, but most times they do it for the common fields they share, not the fields that they don't share. So sometimes there are some, maybe 3 or 4 columns that they need, and then the others just come along. Does that make sense? So yeah, it's very, very practical. There are scenarios where you have to append data that are not exactly the same structure, but in most cases, they're not radically different. They only have a few common columns, and usually that's what you do it for. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, okay. I think maybe what I mean is, if I wanted to do something with this now, would I have to still like for that edit day such that, so basically the null I'm saying is giving me a headache. Like, is it possible to?
Okay, which takes us to another transformational step. So if you don't want the nulls, there is something called replace values. So you can replace those values. So let's go to quarter, for example. Let's replace the values. It's under transform, I think. Replace values. What value do you want to replace? I want to replace null. What would you rather have? 0? Would you rather have zeros or blank?
I think blank makes more sense.
I click on OK. I'll just press spacebar. Nah, it's not. I think it's because it's number. No, why it's not letting me. It's not letting me go. Enter a number value. Okay, you know what?
I guess.
No, chip. I can't. Let's see if it works for a text. Let's see. Maybe we're trying. Please no. Okay. So I've taken the nulls out and just replaced with blank space. So that's possible. You can do that. Yeah. For numbers that did not work. But for that one you can replace it with zeros. It's fine. So you can, if you don't want the nulls, you can replace them. It's not a problem. But yeah, they don't do any damage. So yeah, you can have that. I don't know. So yeah, we've done replace values. Do we all understand append before I move on to the other side of combination, which is the merge? Do we understand append? Add on to data, continuous data, same format, same structure, keep going. Cool. So let's do a merge. Let's go to the returns table. returns table, we have the order ID, and we have returned, meaning was this particular order returned? It says yes. For an order to be returned, it means it was first placed, right? You cannot return what was never ordered. And that points us to the fact that the returns table is a subset of the orders table, because for there to be a return, it means there was an order. So it means every single order ID here under returns should exist in the orders table. But now we have orders as one table, we have returns as a different table. Why can't we just have the returns in the same orders table? So on the line, straight away, you can tell if a particular order was returned or not, instead of having to go to a different table. Well, that's an example of where you do a merge. So orders, I want to bring returns data into the orders table, so I don't have to go to a different table to check if an order was returned. So let's do a merge. Home, merge. So merge doesn't add on to data, it adds data on the side. With append, you don't need to have common fields. With a merge, the two data tables have to share a common field. You have to find something to merge them on. It's like a VLOOKUP. You have to look up an actual data to merge with. So let's do a merge. Merge queries. What do I want to merge with? I want to merge with returns, because I know every single returned order was once placed as an order. So what common fields do they have? Order ID and order ID. Power BI checks, there's a tick to confirm that, okay, yes, these two fields look similar. I click on OK. What happens? That Power BI, that table is added onto orders. So now I have my orders table with an addition of a table from returns. To expand this table, these are all the fields in returns. I don't want this. I already have the order ID, so I don't need this. It's the returns I care about. Was that particular order returned or not? I click on OK. And guess what? All the orders that were returned, now I can see inline straight away without having to go to returns table. So I can see straight away if a particular order was returned or not. If the order wasn't returned, go on.
Sorry, could you take it back? Take it again, please.
Yep, I'll delete those steps. So this is my orders table as it is. I want to bring in returns data to my orders table. I click on merge. What do I want to merge this table with? With the returns table. What do I want to merge on? What do they share? They share the order ID field. Power BI checks, it confirms that, okay, that's good to go. I click on OK, that table gets added onto the orders table. What do I want to bring out of this table? I want to bring in the return status. Just this is the only field I care about, because I already have the order ID here. I click on OK. So now on every single line, I can tell straight away if that order was returned or not. And if it wasn't returned, it says null. And if you're like SC that doesn't like to see nulls, what do? We can replace the null value here. What's the opposite of yes? If the order was not returned, it means it's no. So let's replace the nulls there with no. So the data is cleaner for everybody. Replace null with no. Click on OK. So straight away, for every single order line, I know if it was returned or not, because I have done a merge of the orders table and the returns table. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? We have 1 more hour to go. So probably less than 1 hour.
Yeah, I have a question. So when you did the append thing, yeah, when you did the append earlier, you added new set of data regardless of the original data to the bottom. So, but when you're doing the merge, you're saying that the data has to be, can't we add like new set of data to the side regardless of the original data?
They must share something. They must have a common field, because Power BI needs to know what to merge on. They must. So in this case, it's order ID they share, because okay, now I say I want to bring returns to orders, but how do I know where to put yes and where to put no? Look for the order ID. So they have a common field that both of them share. With append, we don't have that problem. Just add it. With merge, they must share a common field, like a VLOOKUP. You need to look up something and then merge with that one. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you.
Any more questions? No more questions? Okay. Let's go for a final break. When we come back, we'll go full throttle. See what we can cover. And so I'll just do data model and then do a few basic design stuff, and we can leave things there. Yeah. Are we happy with that? All right, let's go for a 10-minute break. When we come back, we go full steam all the way to the end. Okay. Are we back? Or we're dancing? Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
can
we
hear
can.
you.
Okay. Let's go one final stretch and call it a day. By the way, if you want to learn in a slower fashion, where there's more time, you can ask questions, you can try your hands, you can do as I do, I give you a project and all of that. Yeah, you can just visit the website. We have a proper course, but again, this is a crash course. My choice of music, it's random, it's Apple Music. I didn't select the songs. So yeah, this is what it is. So I think we've done quite a lot on data transformation, cleaning, and all of that. So let's go on to data modeling. After data modeling, we'll do some visuals, and yeah, I can leave things there really. Leave things there. So let's say in another 30-40 minutes we should be done. Yeah, I think we've covered quite a bit, to be honest. Okay. So once you're done with your transformation and all the things you think you want to do here, once you click on close and apply, Power BI then applies those changes to those tables and then closes Power Query. Don't forget, Power Query is a different window. Power Query is a different window that we use to transform data. So once I've done my transformation, close and apply, Power BI, move those changes over to Power BI, and then I can carry on from there. Which then takes us to step 4, data modeling. Let's go back to our PowerPoint so we can see we're done with this. We're done with step 3 now. So let's go to step 4, which is data modeling. Data modeling. So now we have quite a number of tables. We have more than 9 because now we've added more. So we have 1, 2. I'm on the data model view, by the way, on the left. So that's why I can see this. We have 3, we have 4, we have 5. Okay, I can see some lines. It's fine. We'll sort that out. Sorry, I'm just moving them over so I don't have to scroll. Those lines you see are relationships, by the way, but don't worry. I'll delete them and we'll create our own. So it's easier to understand. Power BI tries to auto-detect relationships. Doesn't mean it's always correct, but because we are learning, it's better to do it ourselves. I just want to bring all the tables closer. Okay, so those are the tables. Is there anything there? Okay, there's this one. Let's bring it here. Cool. So those are all my tables in one view. Perfect. So as I said, Power BI tries to auto-detect relationships between the tables, and so it brings up the lines and all of that rubbish. But I'm going to delete them because I want us to create our relationships ourselves. Just expanding them so I get all the rows. Okay, cool. So I'm going to delete this line, not because it's wrong, but because I want us to create it ourselves. Delete this one as well. And if you guys remember, we connected this data model, this data set to Excel, if you remember. Now we've done some transformation, we've done some changes, we've brought in some new fields. Let me save, publish, and then go back to the Excel to see if those changes will reflect. So publish. And again, all of this is possible because of the Power BI service. You see why I say without the Power BI service, you're not doing Power BI right. So that service is super, super important. Okay, that's done. So let's go back to Power BI service. Bring that up. This is the Excel file we were using before. It's on the web, but it's fine. Enable content. So can you see customer table, product table? These were not there before. We created these tables. So already our Excel has picked up stuff that we created in Power Query. Okay. So whatever changes we do in Power BI, whatever updates we make in Power BI, we can take advantage of in Excel. There's one table that I created, email address. Was that in people? Yeah, there you go. See the email address is there. So that's not data that came from original source. It's data we brought in. And now we can use it even in Excel. That's it. Anyway, so that's by the way. Let's go back to Power BI. We have these tables that we believe should share some sort of relationship. So for example, the orders table should share a relationship with customers table because every order has to be made by a customer. Same way, every order has some products in it, at least one product. I mean, because you have to order something, right? So there has to be a relationship between products and orders, between customer and orders. And don't forget, they were all one table before I split them. I split them up so I can explain relationships with you. So now we have 3 tables: orders, products, customers. Without any connection at all in this data model, we've not connected any table. It is still a data model. So it's not the connections that make it a model. The fact that it's there means it's part of the model. It's part of the single semantic model. Whether or not the share relationship is secondary. Okay, we are going to establish those relationships, but that doesn't stop this from being a model. As it is like this, it's a model, as I've shown you in Excel. When we create the relationships, then we've enhanced the model with more relationships, but it's still a model. So it's not the relationships that make the model, it's the data tables that make the model. But with data tables, you can create relationships that then enhances the model. So let's create relationships. Just like with the merge, when you want to create relationships, you need to find common fields that the tables share. So what fields do we have that product table and orders table share, for example? Okay, I've seen a slight error there, but don't worry, I'll sort it out. So I think I deleted the product ID from orders table. That shouldn't have happened. I need all the IDs. Just 1 second. Okay, just gonna undo that. I mean, with that now, you know the answer to the question. But it's fine. So product ID is present on product table and the orders table. So we can connect these 2 tables based on product ID. So for everywhere you see a particular product ID, I just need you to come to this table and get me the product category, product name, blah, blah, blah. How do you create the connection on Power BI? You just drag this field on top of the field where it's the same. Power BI would, give you a warning, ask you a question. So by default, it will propose a type of relationship. Then you can decide to use that or change it to something else if you want. Okay. In this case, I'm just going to go with default. I'll still change that later, but it's fine. Same thing for order ID. Order ID. Sorry, customer ID, my bad. Where is the customer ID? Did I delete that too? Sorry, guys. I shouldn't have deleted the IDs on the other table because I need them now. Sorry, I'm just going to bring that back. Yeah, so I need the IDs. I hope I'm not confusing you. I should not have deleted the IDs because I need them to connect. Okay, so now customer ID to customer ID. This is what they have in common. It's saying many to many. I'll explain what that is in a bit. Save. Before I carry on with modeling, let's go back to transformation. I still want to make some changes. And this is because I've seen some issues with the modeling. That's why I want to go back to transformation. Under the customer ID, customer table, for example, if you notice, I'm seeing the same customer multiple times. So say BH11710. This is the same customer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the same customer. There is no reason why we should have the same customer 7 times. It's the same unique entity. Okay. So how do we clean that up? We remove duplicates. I click on the ID, remove rows, I remove duplicates. So that way I'm seeing every customer just once. So I've gotten rid of the repetitions or duplicates that I have. I'll do the same for product table. Product ID, remove rows, remove duplicates. So now I have just unique products. Okay, close and apply. Okay, that's done. So now let's talk about the different types of relationships that we have. Let me double click on this one. There are 4 types of relations in Power BI. 4 types. There is many to one, there is one to one, there is one to many, and there is many to many. So I'll explain what the 4 are. Many to one means, so there's 2 in between, in the middle of all of them. There's many to one. The 2 is in the middle. 1 to many, 2 in the middle. What that 2 basically tells you is whatever is on the left of the 2 is one table. Whatever is on the right of the 2 is another table. So for the first example here, the left table of this particular many to one is on the left side of this equation. Whatever it is I'm connecting these 2 tables on. In this case, maybe product ID, customer ID. On the left side, I expect to see the ID many times. On the right side, I expect to see it just once. Okay, so it's like on table 1, it's completely fine to see that customer ID many times. On table 2, I expect to see that customer ID only once because I expect it to be a unique entity on that table. A customer is a customer. There's no reason why one customer should appear 10 times on a customer table. Every customer is unique. So on a customer table, a customer should appear just once, which is why I went to take out duplicates, because it did not make sense to have the same customer appearing 10 times on a customer table. But the same customer can have 10, 15, 20, 30 different orders. So it is completely fine for a customer to appear 10 times on an orders table, because one customer can have 10, 15, 20, 30 different orders. So if I was to connect a customer table to an orders table, on the customer side of that equation, I expect to see a unique customer. That's one. On the other side of that equation, I don't expect, it is fine to see one unique customer multiple times because one customer can have many orders. It doesn't mean one customer cannot have one order, but it means if that customer has more than one order, there is no problem. So that's the many to one. So on the customer side, so depending on where customer or orders is, if the customer is on the left and orders is on the right, it means it's a one to many. So from the customer side of the equation, I expect to see a customer just once because it's a unique entity. On the other side of the table, it is completely fine to see that customer many times. So if the customer's table was on the left and the orders was on the right, that's a one to many. If we swap them around, if orders was on the left and customers on the right, that's a many to one relationship because we are joining them based on customer ID. On the customer's table, a customer ID should be unique because the customer is just one entity and should appear just once. One to many, many to one. Based on the side the table is on, the many side of that equation means it is completely fine for that entity we are combining them with to appear many times. But on the one side, that entity needs to appear just once because I expect it to be a unique entity. So that's many to one, one to many. What changes is the origin of the table. The nature of the relationship is the same. Now, using that illustration, can anybody try to explain to me what many to many is? There are 4 types, one to many, many to one, pretty much the same, depending on the position. Now, what is many to many? Who wants to try? What is many to many relationship? Somebody needs to try. Who wants to try? What is many to many? Go on, Castor.
You don't think so?
So many to many relationship, I believe it's just like you've explained that a customer appearing many times in a customer table, and then that same customer appearing many times in a customer's.
I've lost you. I don't know if it's speaking. You're muted.
Sorry. So I was saying many to many is when you have a customer appearing many times, the same customer in the customer table, and that customer appearing many times in the customer table, placing orders at different times in the order table, meaning that that same customer is also appearing many times in the order table.
So the logic is correct, but the tables or the examples you're using are wrong, because in a customer table, every customer is meant to be unique. So the customer should not appear many times in a customer table. But let's say we are connecting, let's say we have a delivery table.
Okay.
Yes, Charles, I can hear you. So sorry, just let's say we are connecting a delivery table to an orders table based on the customer ID. So it depends on what you're connecting with. If you're connecting on something different, it doesn't really matter. So for example, if I'm connecting delivery table to orders table, and I'm connecting on order ID is still going to be unique in orders table because every order is unique. But if I'm connecting those two tables on customer ID, don't forget, none of those tables needs the customer to be unique. The customer can have many deliveries. The same customer can have many orders. It's only on the customer table that the customer is unique. So if I was connecting a delivery table with an orders table based on the customer ID, it is completely fine for the same customer to appear many times in a delivery table. One customer can have many deliveries, and the same customer to appear many times in an orders table because the same customer can have many orders. So that's an example of a many-to-many. In table A, it is fine for the customer to appear many times. In table B, it is also acceptable for the customer to appear many times. The only place where it is unacceptable for customers to appear many times is on the customer table because every customer is unique. Charles.
No, that's fine. You've said exactly what I wanted to explain. So I wanted to use the car sold table, for instance, to say in the car sold, for the purpose of this class, maybe there are names, different brands of cars bought by the same customers. So in that same instance, it is very possible for that customers to appear several times in the car sold table based on the different types of customers sold to that particular customer. Then if we come, and if that table has an order table or an order number, then we can actually be able to relate that to the other ID, to the other table as well.
Thank you very much, Charles. So, Casto, do you get it now? Do you understand what I've just explained? Yeah, cool. So who wants to, with everything we've said, who wants to tell us what one-to-one is? This one should be straightforward. What's a one-to-one relationship? What is a one-to-one relationship? What is a one-to-one relationship?
Somebody else like that.
You can go for it.
Okay, one-to-one, I think I will use the same we've spoken about, right? So in a car sold table, for instance, if there is an order number definitely distinct number or individually identifiable number. We can't have the same order number for the same products, right? So we can be able to link order number in a car sold table to order number in an order table or another report, if that makes sense.
I'm going to explain it without making reference to tables.
All right, that's fine.
So a one-to-one relationship basically means in table A, that entity needs to be unique. In table B, the same entity needs to be unique. So there are not many common examples for this, but let me think of one that might be relevant. Okay, so let's think of, I'm assuming most of us are in the UK. So let's think of your NHS number, GP records, for example. Yeah, GP records. So let's say we have the countrywide GP records, like everybody has an NHS number and it's unique to you, it's just you. And then let's say you have a GP record for just your city. So if you were to map NHS users based on city to an NHS database for the country, that's an example of a one-to-one mapping. Under no circumstance should a unique patient appear 2 times on the list of one city or 2 times on the national database, because it's still the same unique entity, it's just a subset. So that's an example of a one-to-one. Does that help? Because it's still the same patient, we're just looking at it from different lenses. So if you were to connect Birmingham NHS list to UK NHS list, for example, the same patient is the same patient. On both lists, I expect the patient to appear just once because they are a unique entity. So guys, do we understand the 4 types of relationships you can have? Many to one, one to one, one to many, and many to many. Do we have any questions on that, or I can carry on? No questions. So you might be wondering, what's the point of relationships? Peter Baba, go on, ask a question.
Thank you, David. Just to confirm, customer to order, would that be one-to-one or one-to-many?
So let's
from your explanation. Sorry to cut in. From your explanation now, it's giving me customer to order will most likely be, or is more likely to be one-to-many, because one customer can make many orders.
You've answered the question.
Thank you.
You've answered the question. The only reason why my Power BI file was showing many to many was because I had duplicates. I did not have unique customers on that list. So now I'm going to delete and recreate those relationships because every customer should be unique. So now let's recreate that. So product ID to product ID. What do we have now? It says one to many because one product is a unique product, but many customers can have the same product. The same product can appear many times in other table because different customers can be buying the same product, but it's still one unique product. I click on save. That's done. So I'll do the same for customer again. Single save. Now you might be wondering, what's the point of relationships? Like, okay, one to many. What's the cocoa? Well, the easiest way to explain that is to show you what life is without relationships and what life is after relationships. So I'm going to delete this again. We'll come back to show you why they're important. So I'm going to delete this. So let's go to the report view. Let's do a simple visual. So let's bring in just this table. So I'm going to bring in data from the orders table. I'll bring in the row ID. I don't want an application. Don't summarize. So row ID, and I'll bring in the quantity, the profits. Again, this is all from the orders table. So everything here is from one table, yeah? So let's do the same for a different table. I want to bring in stuff from the customer table. Customer. I'll bring in customer ID, customer name. So this is from the customer table. Now I want to bring in something else from the product table. 3 different tables. They are not connected. I've deleted the connections, and we'll see why the connections matter. Product table, bring in product name. That's all. So these are 3 different tables from 3 different data sources, blah, blah, blah. So now, because I've removed the connections, these 3 are standalone tables. They share nothing in common. If I click on this particular customer, nothing happens to the remaining tables. If I click on this customer, nothing happens to the remaining tables. If I click on this one, nothing happens. Now let's connect customer table to the orders table and see what happens now. So this is customer table, connect to orders table, save. Let's see what changes. I go back there. Now I click on the customer. What happens? I can see the orders that are related to that customer. I click on another customer, Adrian Barton. I can see that these are the orders that this particular customer made. I click on Amy Cox. I can see. Without relationships, I don't know all that. So now, because these 2 tables are connected, from one table, I can see what is related to that data in the other table. I click on Anachong. I can see what he or she ordered over time, because now they share relationship. I have not connected product table. So because I've not connected product table, I can't see the products they've ordered. I can only see quantity and profit. Now let's go and connect product table and see what happens. Product ID to product. Save. So now if I click on Adam, okay, it's still not working for product ID, which is good. Now that takes me to another point. So with customer table, I can filter orders table, but I cannot filter product table. Why is that? Now you see this arrow on the line. This arrow that is there, this arrow is pointing there. It's a filtering direction. So what this is, cross filter direction. It means in what direction can I filter? So in this case, customer arrow is pointing to orders. So customer can filter orders. In this case, products can filter orders, not the other way around. So if you notice, the arrow is going from customer to orders. So customer can filter orders. Let's see how that works. This is customer. I click on customer, it's filtering orders. Go back to the model. Product can filter orders, but orders cannot filter products because it's single direction again. So now let's go back. Let's test that. I click on the product. Product can won't filter customer. Okay. No, that's sorry. Product can filter order. That's what it is. It's product and orders. So product can filter order, but cannot filter customer. So I go back again. I click on product. It can filter the orders table, but doesn't touch the customer. That's because the filtering is set to one direction. So this can filter this can filter this, and that's about it. But ideally, you want all three to be in sync. And that's why we can update this connection to change the filter direction to be both, meaning they can both filter each other. I click on save. I go to this one, update this one too. Both save. Now let's go back to the report view. Now I click on customer. I am filtering the product and the others. I click on product, it's filtering the customer and the others. I click on others, it's filtering the customer and the product. All three tables, because they are now connected and set to filtering in both directions, they're all in sync. I click on one, the other two respond. I click on one, the other two respond. I click on one, the other two respond. Meaning, in fact, now I can bring in fields from other tables into the same visual because now they share a connection. So customer ID from customer table, I can go to product table and bring in product name because now those two tables are connected. So I don't need three tables. I only need one table because I can bring all the other data fields I want in. Now I go to others table and I bring in discount. I bring in quantity. I bring in profit. So because these three tables are combined, they're connected, I can pull fields from any of them at any time to create any visual of my choice, and Power BI will be fine with it. Do we see the point of connections now? Do we understand what it means to create relations between tables? Because once you create those relationships, then they start to speak to each other. They have an understanding that, okay, if I click on this particular product, I want you to go and check your database and give me everything related to this product. Is there any question? Do we understand the point of relationships? We understand the relationships. We know the many to one to many, blah, 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 but do we understand why they are there and what they are there for? And everything I'm doing here in Power BI, the way I'm pulling from different tables, when I save and publish this, I can do the same thing in Excel in a pivot table because the model is the same. Whatever relationships we've established here is maintained in the model, and it's carried on to whatever environment we use it in, including Excel. Do we understand the importance of relationships? Do we get it? Do we? Okay, now silence is scaring me. Do we understand the importance of relationships now between tables? Do we see the value that brings to the equation? Imagine you have 20, 30 different tables connected and all in sync. And you click on one and you can see what's happening in the remaining 19. That makes your life easy. Significantly. It means you don't have to be searching things because they're all connected. Yep. We've only got a few minutes left now. I think the final thing I'll do is just do a tour of the different visuals. And maybe we'll leave things there. We won't be able to build a dummy report. But then again, that's the icing on the cake. We have a cake already. We've learned how to bake the cake. This is the real cake. The icing, to be honest, you can learn on your own. But then again, it's a crash course. If you want more, there's more. But this is a crash course. And yeah, we do not want to compromise on the quality of delivery over or covering everything. Precious.
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yes, boss. Carry on.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
First of all, I want to say thank you for always coming through to give those of us that are beginners this opportunity to have an idea of how these things go. Yeah. So I want to know when next are you starting the next cohort, and how do we get access to information relating to that cohort, and how much does it cost, and how long will it take? So that's what I want to know, boss.
It's all on the website. That's the simple answer. Every single question you have concerning cost is on the website. I honestly don't want to use this crash course to do any marketing. So I don't really want to go into details of the cost, the price, and all of that, to be honest. So everything is on the website. Just go to davedaddy.tech. Every single question you have is there. And there's a live chat button there, so you can text me on WhatsApp directly from there and ask all your questions. But I don't want to flip this crash course into a marketing course because honestly, that's not waste.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other question? Casto?
So, please, I want to ask, you know, the way you said you can view your model on your, you can view your Power BI model on Excel, right?
Yeah.
And you showed us. So if you have visuals on Power BI as well, are you able to view the visuals on Excel as well?
No, you don't view the visual in Excel. What you view in Excel, if you notice, I'm connecting to a Power Pivot, so it's a pivot table. So it's the semantic model I'm taking advantage of, not the visuals. If you want to move your visuals out of Power BI, you can integrate it with PowerPoint, not Excel. And if you think about it, it's better to show visuals in PowerPoint than Excel. So let's say, for example, I built this chart, this visual, this one that you can see here. So I'll show you what that looks like very quickly. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is a visual in Power BI. I save this and I publish it to the service. So you can integrate this in PowerPoint, not Excel. So you can have like a live PowerPoint file that gets updated based on the Power BI data. So instead of having to build the same PowerPoint every month, you can have one live file that gets updated whenever the data changes. And I'll show you what that looks like now. So now we have some visual. I mean, it's not a pretty visual, but it's there. So this is the reports. So this is the visual in Power BI. So let's export this to PowerPoint. Embed live data. Okay. So I'll open this data in PowerPoint. So you can have a Power BI environment. You publish the reports, and those that want the data are connecting to it in Excel. They are doing their stuff. Those that want to present it are connecting to PowerPoint. They're doing their stuff. So this is PowerPoint. This is a live connection to our Power BI data set. If we had different filters and slicers here, everything will work just fine, like normal Power BI, all within PowerPoint because it's a live connection. So there is no need to take visuals from Power BI to Excel. If you can just embed it in PowerPoint and carry on from there. Costa, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
I don't think there's much more I can cover because of time. It's 20 minutes to go, and based on the original plan, we are well past what we should have done. So last 30 minutes was meant to be for like questions and answers and all that. Now I've got 20 minutes. But to be fair, we've covered a significant amount of what I plan to cover. I'm fine with where we have things. I hope you are, and if you're not, apologies for that. But yeah, I think we've gotten to the point where now we just talk. You just tell me, ask your questions, and I answer them. And it doesn't have to be Power BI related per se. It could be anything you can help with. So now it's open floor. Let's talk. I think I can officially bring the class to a close now. Not because we covered everything, but I think we've covered a significant amount of what we want to cover. And please leave a review for us. It's super important, super important. I'll read every single one. So please, if you're leaving, before you leave, go ahead, use the link, give us a review. I'll put it on my screen now, so it's just there. Give us a review, tell us what you think. It takes less than 20 seconds to complete. I know people don't like stress, so I've kept it simple. Scan from your phone, answer the question, and cool. All right then. Casto, go for it.
So, thank you. I want to ask a question. So, assume I have a data, right? A January to December data. And officially, my quarter starts in, say, August, right?
Yeah.
And not Jan, right?
Okay.
And then I tell Power BI I don't know. I do some transformation on Power BI to say, recognize August as my first quarter instead of January.
First month.
Sorry?
First month or first quarter?
first month, first quarter, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I haven't done that. I go to my visuals. I haven't done that, right?
Mhm.
I haven't finished my transformation on Power BI.
Mhm.
It's still not showing that sequence. It still
How
has
do
it
you,
mixed up.
how do you do the transformation is the question.
Okay. So on the query editor, I write a query that says identify August, September, October as my first quarter, right? August, September, October, then November, December, October, November, December as my second quarter, and like that. January, February, March, third, and you understand what I mean? So that's what I did.
So I think you're complicating things. What you kind of just done is create a mapping table, and in your mapping table, you reorder the month numbers how you want, starting with August. So with that mapping table, you can create a relationship between a mapping table and whatever data you're looking at, and go with the mapping tables ordering or sequence. I mean, we can look into it. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, what do you mean by mapping table?
So you see the way I created a table and I put month and month number.
Yeah.
So you can create a table like that and then put your August as 1 and then continue with the number the way you want it.
Okay, so I would now map that table to my
to the actual dates, exactly, the actual data you have. And then go with the mapping table as your month number or month order.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks a lot.
David.
Yes.
I've
Who is
got
David doing David?
issues.
You will not have issues in Jesus' name. What's the problem?
Amen. So David, I've been trying to create could it be, I don't know if I'll be able to create it on Power BI, but I've been trying to create it on Excel, like a tracker where a tracker of weekly hours, like week 1, week 2 to week 5, depending on the month, and also overtime hours worked by staff. And then at the end of the month, it calculates the total hours worked within that month by a particular staff. I've been trying to create that. I'm not a tech girl per se, and I've been having difficulties in trying to achieve that. So
Okay,
I
so
try to watch YouTube. Then when I try to put the using conditional formatting, when I try to put all the values and everything, I'll get it right before everything goes the other way around again. So it's been very hectic. So I have a couple of spreadsheet I want to create regarding to the aspect: training, tracker, timesheet, invoice, spreadsheet. So I don't know. I just need help to see how I'll be able to achieve that.
that's not a question, obviously. But
David got me.
we can take that offline. What you need is not an answer. You need solutions, and that cannot be done on this call. So we can come back to it and
my mentor.
see what we can do, and I'll charge you accordingly. I'm
No
going to stop
problem, my
recording now.
mentor.
I'm going to stop recording now because I think the class has actually ended. Just so we don't put unnecessary things on YouTube. I've stopped recording.